take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Raising the belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem, we mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing reds, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had them stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes still trying to have that price. Get a yo cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays dudes never had that fight. When they put your boom, better burst your pipes.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is will you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ and a making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when a punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is will you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing reds, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had them stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes still trying to have that price. Either yo cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays dudes never had that fight. When the push boom, better burst your pipes.
وبالمخطبوط العراق موجود معانا ليخلص مدفع تواجد الاي سبورت مع
تكسر الوضع تاع اوبا حاليا على خرج لوحده بالصغار وضع
هذا الليل لم يكن في مكان مناسب. سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور يا سيكتور.
Welcome everybody to another day of the PUBG Mobile PMPL Arabia 2022 full split. My name is Imperium. We have another day of games up ahead. This is League Week 2, day number 2, and today we will find out which 16 teams will be making it through to the second Super Weekend. Before we get into things, of course, if you want to join in on the conversation, use the hashtag PMPL Arabia. Follow us on all the social medias, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. There's also Instagram and Twitter out there as well. Like I said, get involved. Use the hashtag PMPL Arabia. Let us know what you are thinking. I'm not alone, of course, to take you through all of the action and what's going to go down today. I'm joined by the wonderful, the ever-talented and amazing Monica. Before we get into things, of course, how are you doing, Monica? Are you well?
Doing wonderful. I came, we casted the Super Weekend last weekend, but I didn't get to really see firsthand yesterday, but I heard there was a ton of action. I saw some teams just sealing away all the chicken dinners, right? I think that was POWR, and that was Team FALCONS, surprisingly, which is one of the teams that didn't make Super Weekend last weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit of a topsy-turvy, topsy-turvy?
English is hard, I know.
English is hard. Either way, it certainly has been a bit of an upside-down day one, but there's plenty more opportunities, of course, for the teams to turn it around in that regard. Let's get rid of the kind of, the housekeeping per se, and at least take you through the format of how things do go down across this PMPL Arabia if you are joining us for the first time. We know it, we love it, Monica. The weekdays, the super weekends leading into the finals.
I like this layout, right? This is a couple, years going like this, but because we're having 20 teams, that's just more inclusion, just allowing, 4 extra teams instead of just that strict 16 playing the whole time. And this gives a chance for teams that, every week they can come back. It's not like all the points are throughout the entire 4 weeks, after, if you had a bad, entire first week, you're kind of out of the running, right, towards the end. But this way, everyone has a fighting chance, as we clearly see from FALCONS, as we see from Curd 12, these two teams that didn't make last Super Weekend, now are currently in the second and third standings and are, definitely making it to Super Weekend this coming up weekend.
110%. You might be thinking, okay, well, I know the format, I know how things go down, but when are the dates? Monica and Imperium, when do I need to tune in? Well, there you go. It's right on your screens. We've been through week 1 already, and now we're into week 2. This is the 28th of June. We're nearly into July already, and yeah, we'll soon have week 3 and then the finals at the end of the month.
Definitely. Time really flies when you're having fun. I can't believe an entire week is already over. And there is a little bit of a, if you guys notice on those dates, there is a 1 week between the next week, after next week's last Super Weekend and the finals. So teams really have that full week to really prepare, watch back the VODs, really analyze how they have been playing, and then analyze how all the other 15 teams in the lobby are going to be playing to set themselves up for the finals that last 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Having that time frame in between the end of the league week and the finals is massively important because there's money on the line. A grand total of $150,000 for this PMPL full split. You have that separate prize pool for the all-important finals. However, there's still quite a bit up for grabs across the league stage.
Even up for grabs, every single chicken dinner in just the Super Weekends, okay, not league play where we're in now, every single one of those is $1,000 in cash money. So some of those teams from this past week, I think GEEKAY definitely took home a ton of that. OOREDOO Thunders, tons of chicken dinners. So just adding that sweet kind of extra prize on top of the prize money that they're really going for.
Exactly. If you're able to boost your bank account as well as boost your ability to hopefully put yourself in a position of not only getting into the next stage, but of course the PMGC at the end of the year, where there's obviously going to be a lot more money on the line. That's the aim, that's the goal. Just got to go through step by step. And the teams are going through the steps for in this week too. You highlighted it in day 1 yesterday. It was 2 chicken dinners across the board from FALCONS and POWR Esports. A massive turnaround from Falcon Esports. I don't know exactly what they did, whether it was finding their confidence, finding their form, but they looked like a completely different team yesterday, Monica.
Yeah, as kind of painful as it is sometimes, it's just watching back the VODs and you know what's happening, right? Like, okay, we know we lost this fight in this certain compound, but let's just really just hyper focus on this area. See, okay, our mistake here was that this person who had an off angle got knocked first, and that just kind of just debilitated the entire kind of push onto the compound. So really being able to identify like, hey, this was the issue in this particular fight, and just remembering all of that for the next time we compete, it's going to help us. And clearly that happened for Falcon Esports. They went back, they took the time, did their homework, and have
Yeah.
a teaching dinner. Is currently, I think, second place on the leaderboards. But I want to so we missed out on the action from Falcons last Super Weekend. I want to see how they're going to perform now in this upcoming one.
Exactly. A little bit of a spoiler. We will show the full schedule from a visual point of view, but we do have 3 Sanhok games today. Yes, 3 GC Sanhok maps coming up for you. So the action is not only going to be pretty fast, but it's going to be pretty heavy, and I expect a lot of surprises being pulled apart. Let's have a look at the overall, because you kind of touched upon Falcons per se in that massive turnaround, but they're not the only team, Monica, who have done that, right? Curd 12, currently in 3rd place. They're a team that didn't qualify for the Super Weekend, and they have booked their spot already.
I think we saw some really impressive plays from POWR this last weekend. I think it was one of those teams that we didn't really, I guess, we didn't have too much expectations for them versus some teams like GEEKAY, like NIGMA Galaxy. Clearly those kind of really big hitter teams. And then they just kind of surprised us all in, I want to say, day 2 of the Super Weekend, this past one. But definitely Falcons, Curd 12. Great to see them up here, because this is the team that we always want to see growth, right, in these teams, and see them really compete at as high of a level as possible.
I'm still going to continue to point this out, because we've yet to see, in my eyes, an improvement. 4K Esports and their reliance on placement points ahead of elimination points. Again, that gap, it's just too much for me. Yes, it's technically the same as Road to Glory ahead of them, but to me, Road to Glory have shown a lot more ability to take chances compared to 4K. And 4K, you saw back in the previous Super Weekend, they're currently the lowest performing team in this Super Weekend. And yeah, okay, booking their spot into this second Super Weekend is a positive, but if there's no adaptation, they're going to hit that roadblock.
Let's take a look at the second half, though. I know you said like roadblocks and such, so that is it's really this kind of halfway point of the league play, right? This is where everyone on that bottom half, especially the ones in the bottom 4 that we're about to see, are definitely they're starting to feel the pressure, right? This is where, hey, I see NASR and OOREDOO and Rad, they're right at the bottom, and maybe they're just having an off day yesterday. It could possibly be an off day today too. So teams at the top that may be looking to target some of these teams, like I'll just give an example, right? Let's say that POWR at the top, maybe on Miramar, they always have problems with, I'll just say like OOREDOO Thunders, for example, because they land right next to them. They could use this as their opportunity. Hey, OOREDOO is really about to not qualify into Super Weekend. Let's just really, maybe not hot drop, but just if we are able to identify them on a map, really just go after that fight. Really just try to dwindle their numbers, third party them if we see them in the kill feed, to prevent them from getting to Super Weekend. And then that team would have, a team like POWR who was able to prevent that, and able to just get a ton of points easier in the weekend.
And that's the thing. It's the second week you've kind of mentioned this scenario, and I really appreciate it, Monica, because it is important that we do think of these variables. Because honestly, I'd like to see more teams think of that. As much as I respect teams that are kind of willing to play their own game, I would like to see more of that. Well, if we can strategically eliminate this team from getting through to the next Super Weekend, technically it can make our pathing, it can make our play into these games a little bit easier. Let's move on to the 3rd page, though, and right now really shine a light on the 4 teams at the moment not looking too good in the overall standings. 90th minute at the moment on the same amount of points as 16th place, but with less placement points, they do find themselves in that all elusive 17th spot.
Yeah, we'll call this the ouch page. This is the 17th through 20th that really are in the red zone, literally just not about to not qualify for Super Weekend. Vista was one of those teams that also was in there last weekend, so this is really going to hurt them. Imperium, we talked about last week, if you don't make one Super Weekend, that's okay. You still have the chances of making it if you make the rest of them to try to qualify for finals. But if you're missing two, even if definitely if you miss a third one, you're not making it to finals. But if Vista doesn't make it this weekend and they don't make it next weekend, there's no chance at all that they're going to make it into finals.
Exactly. It's a massive uphill battle for Vista Gaming coming into today's games. They know what they need to do. Well, maybe they don't. That's the unfortunate thing. Maybe they don't, but I hope they have an idea of what they need to do coming into today's games. I am wondering what happened to Twisted Minds specifically. Like, this team went from Super Weekend performances where they were kind of top and bottom, consistently up at the top in terms of dominating games, being aggressive, being elusive, and how they performed. And in yesterday's games, something was missing there.
Yeah, Twisted Minds was just like one of those teams too that it was kind of like POWR, right? Like we didn't have super high expectations for them, but they just did super well. So I'm hoping that they can jump up high, but even if Twisted Minds doesn't make it, it kind of opens up for teams that didn't make it, like Curd 12, like Falcon and such. So I think we also see the patterns of when a really powerful team does well, you see the kind of lower performing teams now have that kind of, that's just one hurdle they don't need to come over to try to make it into Super Weekend.
We are getting ready to get into game number 1 of the day. We're going to be starting on Sanhok, indeed. So it's certainly going to, like I said, it's going to be hot and heavy. It's going to be action-packed. And to get you ready, to get ourselves ready, to get all the players ready, they can take a sip of Monster. Monster is the official drinks partner for PUBG Mobile. So thank you to Monster for getting involved in PUBG Mobile and the esports spectrum. I even have my kind of Monster today, Monica. Who would have thought it? No, it's ultra red. It's Monster Ultra Red. I wish it was watermelon because I'm a fan of watermelons.
Oh, you even have a
yeah.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know you had the tattoo.
I have a watermelon tattoo.
Now.
I know. I got it back in 2020. Way back ages ago. But way back in the day. What is not back in the day is a present, and it is a schedule. And I gave a bit of a teaser already, Monica. We have 3 Sanhok games coming the players' way.
So one thing that we said in the Super Weekend, we were saying, okay, it's really important they've got Erangel locked down, right? And you can do some high-performing numbers. It's okay if Miramar, Sanhok, because we're only playing one of those maps every single day, even if it's not, not your cup of tea, if it's not your strongest map, that's okay. Here, though, 3 Sanhoks. I think this is definitely one of those, the players are kind of like, oh my god, like 3 Sanhoks. Like, this day is gonna go so super fast because the Sanhok matches, as we all know, a ton of action, and it's just such a fast map.
Yesterday we only had 2, and it really did feel like the games went pretty quickly, both from a broadcast and then just within the individual game. So having that third one today, of course, at the end of the day, like, all the teams play the equal amount of Sanhok games. So please, again, if you're watching this for the first time and you're thinking, wait, so do some teams play more Sanhok games than the other? No. If they're playing 3 Sanhok games today, they played 1 yesterday. If they played 2 yesterday, they will only play 2 today. So all the teams do play the equal amount of maps.
Yeah, just the beauty of groups and the beauty of the different alternating maps to keep it all even. So Sanhok, I mean, can you tell me some stuff that happened from yesterday? Was there crazy? I don't know. I'm visualizing like hot drops, like YALLA and GEEKAY still going into boot
that's
camp.
Still going.
That's still going on. That's still going on.
It's still going on. Like the 2 guarantees in life. You now have a third death taxes and boot camp fight between YALLA and GEEKAY. I believe it went 1 apiece between the 2 teams. No, sorry. sorry, my apologies. One of the Sanhok games yesterday was one of the teams weren't playing, so they had it to themselves. And that proved to be pretty positive because it meant they were able to move out of it pretty earlier. But then the first one went in the direction of GEEKAY, as far as I remember. There's a lot that happened yesterday, so my old man brain, it can be hard to remember things. But as far as I know, it went GEEKAY's way for the bootcamp game that the two teams did clash on yesterday. What teams, Monica, like that are kind of maybe middling of the pack? And this is a little bit of a tough question. Of course, you don't have to have just one. What is there any particular set of teams or any particular team you're kind of maybe looking out for as we get into game number 1?
I think on we saw a little bit of hot drops also from 2 other teams. I believe it was 4K. I want to say, was it Road to Gaming? In the core area. I'm forgetting a little bit of these 2 teams, but Imperium, I did want to touch on real quick. You mentioned yesterday, I think it was YALLA that had the bootcamp to themselves. This time it's going to be GEEKAY because YALLA is in Group E and they are not going to be in this first match.
Bingo. Indeed, Group E are not participating in this first game of the day, so that does indeed include YALLA along with VISTA Gaming, the only one esports, and Team Falcons. One team that I'm personally going to be looking out for is SKYROCKET Esports, because not only again did they not qualify for the first Super Weekend, but they're down into the bottom 4 and they do not play the final game of the day, Monica.
It's always tough to be Imperium for being a team that doesn't play the last game, because it's because
so
now
tough.
you just know you're just sitting there watching the stream, just hyper analyzing what's going on, counting the points in your head, right? You're like, okay, this team is right below me. They can't make more than 5 points, right? Or we're out. So you're just counting in your head. It's always, I would rather want to play that last game so you can at least do something about it, right?
Definitely. NIGMA Galaxy and Rad engaging on each other around this ruins area. Now, this happened in a game yesterday when I believe Roof caught a player Rad off guard. And yesterday I felt sorry for Rad because it's uncommon for NIGMA to kind of drop so much further up towards the mainland of this Northwest Island. In this game now, it seems like it's happening once again, but a little bit more of a cohesive team fight.
Okay, so this is literally just a drop in these kind of little compounds. Not even enough loot for one person, but they have 2 teams landing here, and it looks like one member of Rad is just going to be caught out by himself. He's got a little Overwatch Imperium up on the hill, so he can like cross the road, kind of run on up, but it was NIGMA Galaxy really wanted that elimination there.
I think Rad, to me, are in a little bit of a better position. If Desha can join up with the rest of the team to give that full team power, I really see it going their way.
Amity knocked on the back end side. This is just, I don't know, maybe just not enough armor, just kind of out, and NIGMA Galaxy just kind of losing too many players at once, and it's just one Lord about to go out as well. So I think just biting off a little bit more than they can chew.
I think it's just more angles of pressure that Rad have, so it means that even though they have hard cover, they can't peek through any of the windows really, because if they peek through one window, they might get shot from another angle, right? So that's why I talk about Rad being in a more favorable position. The risk is there of them getting picked off one by one. With the opening elimination going their way, they do have NIGMA Galaxy so much more heavily suppressed, and they need to take advantage of it.
Yeah, NIGMA Galaxy, they're one of the teams. Okay, I'll put it into perspective. NIGMA Galaxy, they're coming into PMPL. They were, #1 team. Just, nobody wanted to mess with them. And Rad, I don't know, the last couple of weeks or so, I haven't really seen much from them. Kind of just really lingering at that bottom of the standing. So to be able to kind of flip the tables onto NIGMA Galaxy, put them in this way. It looks like NIGMA Galaxy though they've evened the numbers just a little bit. So now we're 3 versus 3 Imperium.
And it frustrates me because Rad did absolutely nothing movement-wise off the back of that opening elimination. So even though NIGMA were pinched, they were still able to give a relevant amount of information over based off the fact that Rad hadn't moved. And now, even though they're a player down, Rad are starting to move. it's like they have brain lag off this, but they are looking to take advantage. Kato pushes in forward, uses that smoke to drive his position a little bit more heavily in the favor of NIGMA. Nade comes out from Lord of NIGMA Galaxy. Isn't gonna finish off as he switches over to a gun. The low ball nade comes through. Kato is gonna get dropped by Lord. Quick, swift play. The nade does pop up, but at the end of the day, the damage is done, the trade is there, and each team are down to 2 players.
I think it's tough to kind of isolate it and, you know, have a team fight because they keep going this 1 versus 1, 1 versus 2 sort of situation. Lord now running back on inside. Multiple members of Rad lingering in the distance here. Lord, he's got a UMP and he's got to be hurting for ammo right now, Imperium, because he barely looted at all and now having to take an early game 1 versus 2.
Yeah, definitely. You hit the nail on the head in terms of they're going to get, both teams are getting caught in these 1v1s, 1v2s, and I do hold that more heavily against Rad, and in my eyes, I appreciate that they attempted to go for the push. Now it is a guaranteed 1v2 against Rad. The last player standing information is being given over, but on the bit of a tickle of health, the pre-fire comes through. The DBS connects. Enigma Galaxy make Rad pay.
Switching now onto OOREDOO Thunders, just catching that last tail of the fight. So POWR really showing us why they're #1 on the leaderboard, taking out OOREDOO Thunder, which, remember, this is one of those teams that kind of a Cinderella story this past weekend and Super Weekend. They did so well. So for them to be taken out this early, let's take a look though, 90th minute through line. So I think it was a little bit of OOREDOO Thunder's super spread out and half caught out by 90th minute on that northwestern island and the other half caught by POWR.
Yeah, wait. Wow, okay. So, okay, wow. Yeah, that's kind of strange to me. I would low-key love to see a kind of highlight of how OOREDOO Thunder actually kind of entered into this playing path and entered into this map and where they landed exactly. Either way, they're out and we are automatically down to 14 players. This is Sanhok, Monica. You love to see it. Bring on more action. Bring it on.
Man, it's just, like we're seeing, I mean, this is the Sanhok I have come to expect. And I initially I was kind of excited when you said, you know, GEEKAY versus YALLA, you know, that's still going on in boot camp. But of course, YALLA, they're not in this map. But I think we're getting we're still getting the treat of action, right? We're seeing a lot more between NIGMA Galaxy and Rad over in that kind of, what is it, that kind of ruins, temple-ish area.
Yeah, so outside of ruins, I suppose.
14 teams now.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. Phase 1, it did pop up. We haven't really had too much time to talk about it. Hovering mainly towards the mainland, but with enough of that northwest and southwest island in play, it could certainly head in those directions.
NIGMA Galaxy, they're not quite over all the action yet. Even down to a duel have now, I guess they came down from the ruins area, went over into the Sami area to just collect a little bit more of the loot, but have found themselves right in the backyard of Team 4K. And as a reminder, like if you look at the miniature map, they're very split up right now. Lord is all the way still kind of in the ruins area. Freak came down this way thinking nobody would be here. So, I mean, he's going to have to take a 1 versus 4 if he wants to win it.
Okay, so there's a bit of a replay between POWR Esports and indeed OOREDOO Thunders. That's how it finished off. And POWR Esports, you know, picking up where they left off yesterday, right? 2 chicken dinners. They're looking for more today.
SKYROCKET having a little dabble of action against Twisted Minds in the background. Freak, I mean, he's clearly announced his presence to the point where 4K, they're sitting here, right? These are very defensive positions here. They're trying to find out where he is at. I would be scared if I was Freak, though, because we got a second floor. He does just see him and gets peeked out with that third-person perspective. So, I don't know. I thought maybe he thought he was Kings of the Roofs here, but just giving an elimination early game to 4K Esports.
Like, I credit to 4K, by the way, because I would like to think that this was intentional pathing by them. Early game, it's always a little bit easier to track the elimination feed. So seeing the engagement between Rad and NIGMA Galaxy, they most likely believed and knew that Sami was a lot clearer or basically not looted up. So pathing in this direction was intentional, but it did seem like they were prepared for any Scragglers or NIGMA to be in that area, and they were rewarded with an elimination point.
Yeah, great job from 4K. You know, it's scary though. You know, when you watch back the VOD, you're like, oh, there was a solo right there, because solos are scary. They're playing for their last ditch. You know, if they get a knock, they're going for immediate flush, right? Because there's very few players in this kind of lobby that can, especially in a PMPL lobby, that can pull off a 1 versus 4. But if a solo gets a knock, they're probably going for that immediate elimination, right? There's just no, you know, I'm probably not surviving this, so I might as well just get a limb point out of it. So 4K, very fortunate for them that they weren't, you know, caught now as a 3-man, potentially losing 1 to Freak.
GEEKAY dropped in boot camp, they had it to themselves, but they haven't really sent the full squad out. They have a 2-2 split, 2 in the north hill of boot camp, 2 still inside the massive sprawling center of the map city. I don't really like it. I'm curious what your thoughts are, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're playing confident, right? They know our pesky neighbor YALLA is not here, so we can afford to kind of fan out a little bit. So they still have the control on the northern side, especially if the circle shifts up north, right? They can just, the 2 in the warehouse can just stay there, have the other 2 from boot camp come on in. Or if it keeps centering up on the city, they'll at some point may congregate back right within the 4 walls of boot camp. So everyone else, I mean, this is just everyone coming in just a little bit closer. We had that initial bout of action from multiple teams, and then everyone's just kind of slowly making their way in now.
With phase 2 kind of shifting over to the west, again, it really starts to become that where is it going to end mentality for these teams. Is it going to stay in the mainland? Is it going to be Northwest Island? Possibly even Southwest Island? Skyrockets are close to that trifecta area. They've been here in the previous game yesterday, but they didn't do as much with that area locked down as they probably could have. I hope they're adjusted and able to take control of the trifecta should it continue to head in that area.
Current 12, they're so far up the scores right now, currently in 3rd place after POWR and FALCONS. They can afford to do, you know, experiment a little bit here. Even if they, you know, kind of just didn't do well the rest of the matches, they can use this time, like, let's try some new rotations, try some new outposts that we weren't able to try this last Super Weekend, right? Because we didn't play any of the days.
Oh, yeah.
This is where they can do it and get that kind of simulation for once they do make Super Weekend the coming up days.
And also, I would argue it would take a bit of a target off their backs if they didn't finish in the top 3 this league week, right? Because when you finish in the top 2, top 3, arguably more teams are going to be looking at you, more teams are going to be VOD reviewing you in that sense. So yeah, taking a bit of heat off them wouldn't be a bad thing from Current 12, I would argue.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that mentality in here, and like you said, if you show up a little bit too strong, you got that target on your back, so you want to, you know, other teams are thinking, oh, they're living a little bit too well up there in the standings. Let's take them down a notch. So really just, you want to do well, but not too well, that everyone starts copying you and getting your strats and everything. So definitely what you said there makes a lot of sense.
Next phase is about to pop up. Where is it going to go? That's a $4,000 question that's been answered. It does shift down to Southeast Boot Camp. He's in the center, and maybe GEEKAY had the big brain strategy all along.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting to see the 2 up in the warehouse congregate a little bit closer right into the main part of boot camp. Really good for them. Just careful if the circle shifts off of boot camp now. It's very hard to exit the building or that entire city this late in the game, because you can see every little compound surrounding the city is going to be taken up by all of these teams. And POWR coming out from the northern side, having their eyesights now on R8 crossing the road.
All right, now picking off one of the POWR players early on. That's exactly what they need to do. One thing I've noticed is in this first game, all right, not disengaging as heavily away from Paradise Resort compared to what they did yesterday. I think it gives them a little bit more ability to control the edge of these circles. They've got off to a good start, but without a confirmation and a few of their players taking some shots in return, it could still go horribly wrong.
Well, I think what horribly wrong here was POWR was outside the circle, right, trying to rotate, and saw R8, didn't really have that trigger control or trigger discipline, just immediately started shooting at R8 right in front of that came in out of Paradise. So now they're, okay, now there's no way to get in the circle because R8 is watching us. We have a player knocked and we need to get revived, and another one also on his knees. So this is just this is just kind of, like we said, going horribly wrong. All the dominoes falling the wrong way.
I don't even know why POWR look to even go for the revive, to be honest. They do get a knock, and technically it gives them a bit more of an opportunity to go for at least one of these revives, but I feel like it's a bit too heavy of a bait, and they still don't have the body advantage. Prestige's on one side, 2 of the RA players are on the other, and they need to kind of make this count. They can't allow this to turn around in a 4v2. There you go with that. Finish that elimination off. Make sure you suppress POWR Esports even more, but as this steps up, it is going to have to bow down to the pressure POWR Esports from the other angle puts down to half health.
I mean, is this the team that's in first place right now, Imperium? This is quite the... I come in, I see first. I'm expecting all the great things coming out from POWR, and right here, this is not kind of a fight that I would have expected to come out from them. RA just kind of reaping the benefits here. They have one knocked down, but I believe they are getting the revive soon, and we'll be able to, as another player of POWR gets knocked here. So POWR is just, I don't know, it seems so just non-connected here as a team.
Well, they shouldn't have gone for the revives. They were too greedy, they were too presumptuous, and they fell for the bait. Simple as that. Aziz is the last player standing. Alright, have been able to, more importantly, get back up as a full squad, and if anything, they've kind of low-key abandoned the rest of this engagement, and I would say that's actually a big thing. Once they're still aware that there could still be a player behind them, though.
I think it's smart for them because they just disengage. It's like we're gonna put more priority on the circle. And currently where they're at, if that circle shifts out to the northern side, they have a huge high mountain, and it does actually shift right onto them. Everyone else, I mean, 3 of them driving around like a chicken with their heads cut off.
Yeah, Nomi gets knocked. NASR are going to be able to pick themselves up a couple of free eliminations. Frozen has to try and dodge around a vehicle, gets behind a rock, but an aid goes in his direction, and there's going to be another, and that will connect. Yen is, I believe, the last player standing for Major Pride. They are one of the teams that are quite secure in the overall standing, so there's not as much pressure, but still, definitely questionable plays coming out from them.
Yeah, just sending it into the swampy little areas just outside of boot camp. We have, looks like NASR losing a couple of their players, but Ali21 just putting it right back onto Twisted Minds as he blows up the vehicle. Twisted Minds now 2 up right here, while NASR is going to be as a 3-man down the southern side. GEEKAY, I love that they have the boot camp area, but now it's the time to probably evict out of there, and it's going to be so tough because all the teams all surrounding them.
I'd like to see one player go to the warehouse and have a 3-1 split. That would be the most advisable, but it's still not going to be easy. Twisted Mind's kind of big push towards one area deeper into the circle, I actually appreciate it because, yes, there was a lot of risks, but the way they coordinated, despite them losing a player, getting in deeper ahead of NASR as a duo, in my opinion, was the best they could have asked for.
Woo! We saw the grenades come. They Twisted Minds knows there's somebody hiding down here. They're just kind of really trying to push out this last player of Pride. I think they're committing a lot of resources to this one elimination, though. Would you agree with me, Imperium? I think that was about 3 or 4 grenades that they didn't even get an elimination out of it, and they can't use that now in the late game.
To be fair, they don't know it's just a solar. There could technically be 2 or 3 players, or minimum 2 coming into vehicle, right? But you are correct. They're quite a good bit of utility use. They need to know when to kind of wait, bide their time, and allow their bullets to do the talking later on into this game. Triple Esports do end up getting the better POWR Esport inside the northeastern edge of the circle. 90th minute, or on that very northern tippity side in the compound outside of Paradise. R8 disengagement has proved to be quite effective, and 4K are going to look to take shots on an incoming card 12. They come in late and they pay the price.
That was way too late. That was like the gates have already closed, but we're still going to try to ram our way through. And K12, that's the last one, dies to the play zone. So, I mean, Kurt 12, they stayed so far out on that northwestern island and slowly try to make it in the circle. Just popped up onto, right on top of, I don't think it could be any more central, onto Road to Glory. And they're going to be the only ones in the only compound within the circle, setting themselves so well for the rest of this match.
Yeah, RTG certainly getting a decent bit of circle look coming into this first Sanhok game, and that can often be the name of the game, especially in a map like Sanhok. NASR the final. Well, sorry, one of two players that are left for their side, Miracle and Batika. Batika is in the blues, having to try and heal up while 4K are running out of time to move into the edge of this circle. Phase 5 blue zone does start to do a hell of a lot of damage. Anaconda has a bike if he wants to pull out, possibly a vehicle to give him a little bit more protection around. His head sticks out. Didn't realize that he had a convertible, as one of the 4K players will suffer the wrath of Batika in the blue. You can always do the damage, even if the blue zone is hard to deal with.
Man, that was just the most unforgiving rotation, kind of through the swampy areas on the hill. The vehicle's all blown up. Somehow the solo of Major Pride is still alive as he's just watching and hearing as GEEKAY has now pushed out of boot camp and tried to force their way into the compound. But GEEKAY, I mean, the boot camp gave them so much time, but this is just not the kind of rotation you want to see, like last-ditch effort.
They put all their eggs in one basket, and those eggs have cracked, fallen to the ground. The basket has broken, the handle's ripped off, the bottom is out of it, and now they're in a world of trouble. Twisted Minds realize they do need to move into the edge of the circle themselves. They have a couple of rocky hillsides around. The Major Pride go down. They have been rewarded with their patience by Twisted Minds. Moving into the Swamp Hills, it is once again outside this phase 6 as it shifts up the northeast. SKYROCKET Esports go down. 7 teams left.
This is a great performance on Twisted Mind. Remember, this is a team that should be at the top, but they're at the second from the bottom of the rankings in league play currently. So they're going to need to rack up as many points as possible. They just can't forget there's still a solo from GEEKAY hiding in boot camp. R8 though, you're gonna be watching here as RTG, just wishing they had this compound in the late game, because Road to Glory, they can just sit still and sit pretty because they've got the best spot in the circle.
Twisted Minds up to 3 eliminations, but in my eyes, they need to get somewhat of a top 4 to really make those points count in this game 1 of the day. R8 have done a great job so far. 6 eliminations and counting, still up as a duo. Hell of a task to try and make it into the edge of this compound ahead of the likes of RTG. Triple Esports do have an elevated position up on towards the northeast side of the circle, while 90th minute, GEEKAY, NASR, they're all somewhat healing outside in the blue.
Yeah, like NASR throwing the smoke, just a hop and a skip, and he makes it into just the edge of the circle. I think he needs to edge himself just a little bit further in. Triple Esports, though, finding the angles onto RA on the top of this circle. So doing well, collecting an elimination, putting his team currently at 4, but they still need to get in.
Jabal was so close. He was like, I can see the light. So I can see it. No, it got ripped away because that is Papa Blue coming in strong. Inside Sanhok, Twisted Minds go down. We are left with 4 teams. Ragnar of GEEKAY is continuing to heal, but with him moving, I think he's run out of first aids and he most likely will go down. That's going to be the end of GEEKAY. 3 teams are left.
I mean, the last, I think 3 teams that we saw went out to the blue zone. So ultimate squad wiper for sure. We got a couple solos, duels kind of on the edges here, but really Road to Glory. This is reminding me of OOREDOO Thunders. Remember in Super Weekend, they just didn't really move at all. The circle just kept shifting on it, and they won that game on the northwestern island. NASR there finding that opening knock onto Road to Glory.
Can he do anything with it? Again, the blue is starting to do a decent ton of damage. RTG J9 gets a knock into one of the Triple Esports players, and Nade goes out in the direction of where Batika's shots came through. So I like that understanding and awareness visually and audibly from the side of Triple Esports. But Clever goes down, and we're left with YWZ3 to try and pick up that second place ahead of possibly NASR Esports. Road to Glory, despite them suffering a knock, will most likely still win this game, but Batika trying to do the damage. He does it, but Triple Esports has no more heals, nothing left, and Road to Glory pick up game number 1.
I mean, this is a great win from Road to Glory, but I really want to highlight Triple Esports and NASR still being as aggressive as possible to the very, very end, right? NASR able to just pull up, flush the one knocked player, still collect that one really pivotal elimination point, and then Triple Esports, instead of just, hey, I'm just going to sit here and just let the play zone take me, at least he took the last player of NASR, right? So each of them collected kind of like a consolation, one more point at the very end.
In the words of Garth Brooks, ain't going down till the sun comes up. And that's what I felt for Batika and Triple Esports. They just weren't going to go down until the final breath, the final moment. And they were at least able to do something with that. NASR Esports, with eliminations, picked themselves up 18 points. But again, Road to Glory. Credit where it's due. Chicken dinner, 6 eliminations. That's a good 21-point game for themselves.
We see the eliminations there. They're a little bit lower than you would expect from a game like Erangel, like from Miramar, right? But I think it's just because the action is so spread out throughout the entire match. It's not like in Erangel Miramar where it's all kind of contained in that last kind of 10 minutes. So even though eliminations aren't too high here, it's still great to get those kind of placement points. And then one thing I did want to point out, Imperium, Road to Glory. I think this is the second time I've seen them where the zone just kind of kept gifting it to them and they just were able to win it. Remember, there was an Erangel. I believe it was the first one of Super Weekend. Remember, it landed in Yasnaya where they land, got the chicken dinner, super easy. And this one, they land in Quarry, just kind of came up the road a little bit towards boot camp and then won it there as well.
This is what makes this kind of day so tough for the likes of Rad, 90th minute, and of course Vista Gaming, even though they weren't participating in this game. You have some heavy hitters at the bottom of the standings coming into today's games, and they've hit hard already. Alright, they were in 13th place, they got themselves 10 points. NASR Esports, they were coming into today in 14th place, they got themselves 18 points. And even Twisted Minds, not the result they probably would have wanted from a point standing, but still 9 to start the day. That's nearly as many as they got in yesterday's 4 games in total. So again, those teams are hitting a little bit harder today.
Low-key insult, just like the points you got in this match was equal to all the points that you got yesterday. But I mean,
the shambles of a day yesterday.
We need to give them some tough love, right? And we give them some tough love because we want them to do better. But let's see who needs some tough love on the second half, though, Imperium. And it's kind of a shock, right? Like OOREDOO Thunders, who did so well this last Super Weekend, now just 0 points. I mean, we saw them go against, was it POWR? I think it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was like a mix of POWR and 90th minute, I think, in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, there you go. You can see, like, this is the Oppo moments of this game. But yeah, OOREDOO Thunder's having a mare of a start to day 2.
OOREDOO Thunders, they just, I mean, maybe this is their warm-up game. They're coming back at it. It's going to be Erangel next. Maybe a little more comfortable on that kind of map. And I know they won a lot of those this past Super Weekend. But yeah, all the action here. Remember this push? We didn't really get a touch on it too much from Turd 12. It was just like, everyone came in their own vehicle or their own way to get in the circles. Like, there's no way a team can go, so everyone goes a solo and just try to make it into the circle.
Yeah, but to be fair, like, OOREDOO Thunders, if we take a look back at the first Super Weekend, right, they weren't bad on Sanhok. They had an average of 10 points per game in the 3 Sanhok games from the first Super Weekend. So they generally know how to play this map. I really don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's frustrations. Maybe it's the little bit of the pressure getting to them. Maybe they're not too worried about not making it into this second Super Weekend and they're pushing their limits in these league plays. I'd say that's still a bit of a risk. But again, I'm trying to find some kind of logic in why OOREDOO Thunders aren't playing that well.
Maybe we're thinking too much of it. Maybe it's just somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's just their aim is just off a little bit, a couple inches the whole day or something. But
they didn't have their Weetabix?
Maybe just an off Tuesday. Maybe they ate dinner a little bit too late last night and they're all kind of still digesting it.
That's an interesting theory. Let's take a look at the overall.
We'll table that now for now.
Like that's an interesting theory, but let's take a look at the overall standings while I think about that a little bit more and see what's changed. Road to Glory jumping up to second is definitely not too much of a surprise, and they have certainly gotten closer to POWR Esports.
Looks like their compass was fine-tuned, right? Last week their compass was a little bit, the road to glory was definitely the road to horror. But now it's like it's pointing true north. They're getting up to second place. Jumped up there. POWR, they got, I think they started the day with 79 points, so only 4 points, but it's still holding like a very healthy gap between first and second.
Definitely. Major Pride still in the top 8, looking pretty decently. So do 4K Esports. Let's take a look at the second page. Not really too much to talk about with that page one. I'm very curious to see who is where. NASR Esports
Yikes.
already on 37 points. That's exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, this is the middle of the pack, right? That was like you should aim for like middle of the pack so no one looks at you too closely, but you're not within like distance to potentially not qualify. So NASR doing really well. I'm very concerned for Twisted Minds Imperium because they are actually not going to be playing this next match. Their group is going to be out. So they're sitting here at 15. The teams below them are going to have a chance to kind of jump over them. So they might be sitting kind of down in the bottom 4 after this match.
Yeah, definitely a bit worried about that one. Let's take a look at the bottom 4 though so far after game 1 of today. As it stands, if it was to end as it is, the 4 teams that we would have leaving us in this second Super Weekend would be drum roll. Oh, bottom 4.
We're building the suspense, Imperium. We're building
4?
it.
No?
Well, the bottom
We getting
4 right
teased?
there. Oh, okay.
There you go. Thanks, Andre.
There's our Redo Thunders.
Yeah, it's not good. Like Vista Gaming, I hope that does within reason give them not that like how much should Vista Gaming be worried should be thinking about what other teams are doing or what points other teams have.
I mean, I'd be very worried about the other teams, but I think at this point they really need to be worried about themselves first, right? Like 5 points across 4 matches. They only got, and 4 of those are just from eliminations, right? So that's telling me one of their matches yesterday they did above, what is it? It's like, I'm going to say 10 through, I'm forgetting the exact cutoff, but it's like 8 through 12 is 1 point of placement, right? So only one time did they make it that far in the match. All the others, they just went out, 15th, 16th with 0 points of placement.
Rad, they have an extra game in hand and they're still only on 17 points. And like I said, with the likes of NASR and R8 teams above them getting the amount of points that they have, even Twisted Minds, like we said, with those 9 points, it may not be exactly what they wanted, but it has now jumped them out of the bottom 4. I do very much worry about Rad.
Yeah, Rad. I mean, they had a pretty good, decent fight against NIGMA Galaxy. They took 2 of their players out early, right? Able to collect it, but just didn't really make the most of the rest of that match in Sanhok. So hopefully this next one's going to be Erangel. They are able to turn it a little around.
And look, I can appreciate the attempt of being aggressive, right? And trying to win an engagement.
Yep.
Fundamentally, though, you've got to understand that one, timing is super important, whether it's at the very start of the game or mid to late stages, of course. So if you take your time at a certain point, that is always going to come with potential consequences. And when you've only gotten 1 elimination and you don't really have a full idea of where all the team are, you can't just stay where you are. You can't do nothing. You either go for the full engagement straight away or you fully disengage. Like if Rad had have fully disengaged off the back of that first elimination, even though that would have come with some kind of risks, I'd be like, great, because they're thinking of the late game, whereas what they were doing was nothing, which makes me think what was going through their minds. Are they scared? Are they worried? Do they not have the confidence? It's a presence. It's a attitude that kind of, or potential attitude that leaves me worried for the next 3 games.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more that goes into, hey, let's put a super strong team together and play it, and they'll do well every single time, right? You have to think about the mentality, the confidence, like you said, Imperium, because there is a big difference in, hey, I'm playing with all the confidence in the world, right? I'm probably having a lot of fun, a little bit more loose. You're probably being a little bit more I don't know, just playing true to yourself. But when you're playing not confident, when you're playing scared, like the 4 teams kind of right at the bottom, you're hesitating, right? You're second guessing.
Yes.
You're like, hey, should we push this or should we not? And that maybe millisecond, half second of like, should we push this? Okay, let's go push. That may have been the make or break millisecond to win that fight, because so many other variables that happen in game, and so it's really hard to play well when you're just not confident.
Lack of confidence is such a kind of virus. I don't know what the right word is to you, but you know what I mean. It's such a pain, a scar that can really leave teams a shadow of their former selves, per se. I don't know if that was the case with Twisted Minds from day one of yesterday, but the likes of Rad and a couple of other teams, when they're not showing that confidence, it's like they're scarred in this game. But we are getting into game number 2, and we're back over to the hollow grounds of Erangel.
Hollow grounds of Erangel. It's going to be a pretty just north to south plane path. Imperium, this is, I mean, it's pretty much you can get anywhere where you want to go. We might see some of those teams going to the eastern side, like 4K, all the way over to like Lipkova area. We might see them kind of landing for some vehicles along the way, landing kind of close to, I think they can probably jump around just beyond the school area, might find themselves right next to NASR, like GEEKAY, that all land in that general area.
Yeah, it's a good start to the game in terms of playing path. We do have, of course, another group coming into the mix for the very first time with game 2. We have groups A, B, C, and E. So Group D not participating. That is NASR Esports, Road to Glory, the winners of the first game, Triple Esports and Twisted Minds. And we do introduce Team Falcons, The Only One Esports, importantly Vista Gaming, and YALLA Esports.
So we see SKYROCKET Esports Imperium. Actually, they've jumped now over to that just northern military base island area, which is just kind of new that I haven't seen them jump there yet. Of course, we didn't see them all the last Super Weekend, so maybe they've gone back, watched their Erangel, seen where is kind of the open free spots on this map. So if I'm a team like OOREDOO Thunder, I had kind of a bad game the first game. I'm kind of scared for them, because if they start trying to cross that western bridge or one of the bridges at the same time, we might have them kind of just holding each other on the bridges. It's kind of a lose-lose situation for sure.
Ooh, a little bit of a 1v1 to start this second game between a member of 4K and a member of Vista Gaming. A very important engagement for Vista Gaming, because it's important that they in some way come out on top of this one. I wouldn't mind if they maybe sent a couple of players in the direction of Evo Station. I would understand if they do leave him on his own and kind of be like, look, we can't save you. But now in comes the cavalry. 4K sending a couple of players in as well. Dari is going to be able to get the first opening knock onto Evo Station, but the full squad of Vista are there.
It was like they each called 911, trying to call in reinforcements as 4K pushing up into the midst of Vista Gaming. So turning the tides back in their favor. Currently, one player knocked on either side. Golden, though, he has a huge vantage point up top with the Tommy gun, relaying all this information to the rest of his team. But, I mean, they're allowing Vista just to run up right into their faces, and was almost about to get a knock in return, but through the windows, finding that OP angle. But currently, it's just they're each chasing each other around this compound.
And the player of 4K is coming in from behind. Golden goes in hard, does get a knock, but is instantly traded. Anaconda goes down, and it seems like Vista Gaming are going to come out on top of this one. One knock is the final player left standing. Evo Station is going to go down on his knees, but at the end of the day, Dino is going to roar and put down 4K at the start of this game too.
Vista Gaming is like that kid on the playground that nobody wants to share their toys with, or the part of the structure with. They were on the swings with NIGMA Gaming, and then they just NIGMA Galaxy and just kind of chased them out like, you can't play with us. Now Vista Gaming is landing here with 4K and was able to, find a spot now. So like, this is our spot now. We're driving you out of town. And I mean, I'm great. I'm glad that Vista was able to win it, but that was such a messy fight, Imperium.
It was a messy fight. I do want to give a little bit of a pass to both teams because this is school and apartments, and it looked like Vista originally kind of went towards apartments, and that's normally where NASR drops because NASR aren't playing in the second game. They thought it was free. I don't think, obviously, that comes with the risk because you're not sure who's going to maybe think the same. And it seems like 4K thought a little bit of the same, but in a bit more of an easterly direction as it happens. Yeah, they engage on each other.
Yeah, 4K, usually they landed at Lipkova, Laria, or what am I saying? Lipkova. I cannot speak English today, Imperium. So, Lipovka. Usually going all the way there. I thought they were going to go for the vehicle spawn, but I think, like you said, just having kind of the same thought as Vista Gaming. And then we originally, remember, it was only 1-1 in the compound. Everyone else kind of all spread out, and they all came and crashed. And then we had a full-on 4 versus 4 fight. NIGMA Galaxy, they're happy to see that in the kill feed, right? So they're like, okay, we know that Vista, who's come and crashed up into the city, by the way, and just kind of steamrolled onto one of their players and took them out. They're going to be, not anywhere near Pachinki, so we can breathe a little easier.
Mentioned NIGMA Galaxy, they're still looting up Pachinki at the start of this game. Phase 1 is a little bit more towards that northwestern side of the map. My apologies, the river in play. GEEKAY have a lovely spread between the north of Roshok, Watertown, and the north of Ruins. I would argue it's not giving them as much information on teams coming from the south, but again, that spread is not too bad considering we're only 5.5 minutes in.
Here, we've seen a lot of Gatka circles, right? You and me, I think.
Oh,
I
think we have
so many. If it's not Gatka, it's borderline military base where we're debating or we're betting if it does go in your direction, you're gonna chug a monster, right? But,
don't remind me. Don't remind me, Monica.
I forgot to remind Highland Wolves, so I don't know if that happened yesterday. If there are any close calls, but
no, I didn't do it yesterday because it was safe for when I was with you, because I made the bet with you. Highland Wolf doesn't get that privilege. You do.
Ooh. Okay. Now I feel special. Well, I'll tell Jake to figure out some other maybe something involving the grizzly bear, right? Maybe the grizzly bear outfit. Maybe if it doesn't go your way, you're gonna have to get a real life grizzly bear outfit and then wear it one day.
I really thought you were gonna say real life grizzly bear tattoo. I really thought you were gonna say
real
that.
Life, real. I said real life, as in like in your real life, you're gonna have a grizzly bear outfit. But I see where that sounds like a real live grizzly bear sitting next to you.
Yeah, I'd like to order a grizzly bear, please. Yeah, no problem. What do you intend on using? Just to show it off on broadcast. Oh, okay, no problem at all. Just kind of show up with a grizzly bear. Yeah, it seems totally viable. Doesn't seem out of the ordinary at all, Monica.
I don't know, but we've diverged quite a bit, Imperium. While we were debating the finer details of ordering a grizzly bear online, we see most of these teams are still kind of looting up. We're in the kind of the 7.5 minute phase, right? So we haven't really seen that much action beyond the 4K versus Vista Gaming. And I don't know, just everyone kind of in that Gatka area, still pretty spread out, but we've seen this happen multiple times here, right, Imperium? Pride coming down from north or south Georgia Pole crates, and then GEEKAY just coming in from that kind of Razak area.
Okay. Pride have a 2-2 split. 2 much further on the eastern side of Everest. Now the other 2 teammates coming in from the west. They have taken this Everest position in the past, but I would arguably say they haven't really shown that they're able to control it. Is this going to be the game that they show us they can control that massive mountain?
I want to say it was one of the ones from Super Weekend. They stayed up on that Mount Everest hill way too long, beyond the point where the circle had kind of already shifted past them. And then it was either GEEKAY on the right-hand side or YALLA on the left-hand side trying to find a way down the mountain. And then they would just kind of pick the pieces and had to just full send the circle and just, was taken out a little bit too early. So hopefully they've gone back, done their homework, identified that, and may be able to descend the mountain a little bit earlier if the circle shifts off this ridge.
I don't know if that stat includes all of the Erangel games. I would like to think it does in some way, shape, or form, but POWR Esports dominating this map from an elimination and a damage perspective. And this phase 1 coming into phase 2 is right in their backyard around that GEEKAY split. They have a 2-2 spread outside down the south of Everest.
South of Everest. I think everyone's getting deja vu at this point because they just see it multiple times. Remember what we saw last week? It was POWR had like too many compounds in GEEKAY, right? And at this point in the match where they should be, you know, coming up just a little bit closer together, and they were just kind of running compound after compound after compound, and somehow they finish maybe 3rd place or so in that match. They did it fairly well despite kind of the run around in the entire GEEKAY area.
It's just, look, something that I'm learning to trust within POWR Esports, that they're not afraid to push their boundaries, take their chances, you know, push themselves, and sometimes it's going to work out, sometimes it won't. NIGMA in their own right are going for a massive 2-2 split with Raouf and Lord in that compound to the west of Ruins on top of the hill that's pretty deep in the center of the circle, and the 2 other players are much further back, so that split is, in my eyes, quite unhealthy.
NIGMA Galaxy, though, what they have been doing a little bit more healthier was rotating a little bit faster. I think I saw it last week. They were just kind of having to sit in Pachinki, still at the 10-minute mark, and then trying to rotate, and I kept seeing them caught off rotation, vehicles blown up. So I'm liking here that they've already made it. Granted, they didn't rotate too far from Pachinki or have to rotate too far from Pachinki, but I like how they're being a little bit more proactive on getting in the circle, and I'm seeing NIGMA Galaxy slowly come up a little bit, but just haven't really come over that hurdle of winning out those massive games that we know they can do.
Few teams still making their way into the edge of this phase number 2. SKYROCKET's one of those teams, and they're potentially going to come into an engagement with COR12 on that southwest Pachinki Hill. Ardou Thunders are on that south Pachinki Hill, by the way, so they could possibly get involved as a third party. Shot already going out in the direction of SKYROCKET, and knock nearly goes against them, but luckily return fire will shut down the shots from COR12 on top of the hill. They're forced to scale back a little bit, hang on to the coastline of this phase 2.
COR12, I think, you know, this, I mentioned this is where they can afford to do some new things here. Maybe show them who's boss in this lobby, especially a team kind of at the very bottoms like SKYROCKET. These 2 teams, though, especially SKYROCKET, still hogging that blue zone. We're still in that 2nd phase Imperium, so it's not doing too much damage yet, just kind of a light tickle. Hopefully they can just drive out of this general area, though. They might come up on the backside of CONQUEROR, who does like to land in the kind of the same general area. But COR12, I think, okay, they're out of eyesight. Now we already have our position in the circle. We can just kind of focus on getting a little bit more. But it is so congested on this entire southern side, Imperium.
Presuming they know it's SKYROCKET, it's also technically not a bad thing to target them, right? You mentioned that potential thing of a team targeting another team. It wouldn't be a bad idea. SKYROCKETs are a team that didn't make it into the first Super Weekend, so as much as you want to push back and make it easier for you to make it into the top 16 by eliminating, let's say, the 16th place team from the first Super Weekend, stopping a team that didn't make it into the first Super Weekend making it into the second Super Weekend also does make your job potentially easier coming into those 15 games that you'll have in front of you.
Definitely. VISTA, though, coming off the fight against 4K at the very beginning, playing super. They're like, woohoo, we've gotten 4 points right now. Technically, they're at top of this game scores, right? They've got 4 points. No one else has found any eliminations yet, but they're trying to come into the circle on the hardest side over here. We have Eve's Station, though. One player knocked, begging for a revive, as they find just this little rock to hide behind, and the only one watching them driving around trying to find any way into the circle.
And then they're also going to have Rad and COR12 swinging in from behind. So right now, VISTA Gaming are absolutely pinched. Luckily for them, Rad in their own right are getting entangled with COR12, and COR12 will lose a player. Rad doing exactly what they need to do. This team needs to make it in to the second Super Weekend if they're gonna continue to fight to book their ticket into the finals.
Booking their ticket, the only one. They actually finished dead last in the Super Weekend standings, only getting 70 points. So if I was a team like Kurt 12, like SKYROCKET, FALCONS, VISTA, if I want to try to come up on Super Weekends, I would try to prevent the teams kind of at the bottom of the Super Weekends from getting any more points, because then it's like 70 points, that's what I'm trying to get higher over, and then that will put me directly above them going into finals, right? You want to like halt the other points that are easy to stop and then get as many points as you can as well. So I think the only one is also has a target on their back.
Major Pride still have a 2-2 split between Everest and a compound in the south of Everest. That's arguably a much healthier split. YALLA also getting a little bit involved as this side of Vista Gaming tried to push a bit deeper. Knocks either way as R8 come in on a cheeky third party. Finishes off Quatan. That's a great shot from R8 on top of Everest.
Somehow R8 have come up over onto the top of Mount Everest as Pride. I think, like we said, you know, they learned from their mistakes of the past, came down the mountain as soon as they saw that it was, you know, just kind of on the edges here. You can see them now in the buggies, though. Oh, we got some.
Okay.
This is the everyone in the lobby is like, what just happened here? Player running over themselves, but good thing he had a helmet and he's gonna be still playing this match.
Grows us to that connecting Kurt 12, gonna desperately push into Chop 6. They find the target on their backs. That is Munir of Rad Esports. The circle shifting up north, right on top of Everest. Let's go. It's a donut shift, heading on top of the mountainside. Power in a good spot, Pride in a good spot, R8 in a good spot.
See, GEEKAY, maybe they over-rotated out of the circle, right? They were on top of the Mount Everest, kind of went all the way out into the ruins thinking it was this way, but I'm liking how they didn't really commit to still staying on the mountain, just in case it did shift off. Here we have POWR versus OOREDOO Thunders, both casualties on either side. As POWR, this is their infamous compound, they constantly find their fights in. OOREDOO Thunder shooting through the window's way, trying to open up this fight some more.
This is deja vu. We've seen it happen before, and it's happened once again. POWR came out on top the first time this engagement happened, and they come out on top again. A little bit more worse for wear as a third party came through at the hands of Major Pride. I also appreciate that Major Pride, the second that circle shifted, the two players that were on top of Everest sent themselves down south because they want to control that compound as a full squad.
Yeah, this is the compound that I think was taken up by a different team last time around when we saw a similar circle here. So Major Pride, just great stuff from them. Really having the sight lines from, you know, this compound down here, seeing Kurt 12 roll up, going and kind of third partying a little bit on that fight between POWR and OOREDOO Thunders. And now the only ones crashing up on NIGMA Galaxy.
The only one Esports. They want to get the best of the third place team in the PMGC finals. The Pride of Mina Freak gets a knock on the problems, and when you want to be the best, you got to try and beat the best, and when you don't beat the best, and you're gonna lose those fights. Luffy comes in a little bit late, and he's actually gonna disengage, realizing that they've bitten off too much, more than they can chew, and NIGMA showed a bite behind her bar.
Yeah, fighting off more than they can chew. Needing the Heimlich maneuver right now to still stay breathing as Luffy. I mean, this is just last-ditch effort. I'm just going to drive up north, find somewhere just to creep into the circle. He's using bandages at this point, so not wanting to waste those first aids. GEEKAY, though, they've returned back to their old stomping grounds and finding R8 up onto Mount Everest.
They found him, but have they really found him? Yes, okay, an elimination has gone against R8 in the form of Ida, Prestige, SK, Ton, and Bandar. Still have some good angles of pressure. I would look at maybe GEEKAY as being a bit more of a threat of getting third party, but at the moment this is an isolated fight between these two teams. Hope comes in, the nade is strong, connects on the Bandar, the knock is pushed through, and GEEKAY are going to play forward on this maneuver. Prestige goes for pre-nade over the edge of the hill. He isn't really spot out for the time being, but as the smoke start to dissipate, Hope is going to once again finish off Bandar. Alright, down to just a duo.
Prestige won as he knocks it right on back. He said no thank you back onto GEEKAY, shooting up the side, gets knocked in return, so now it truly is just Prestige all finished by his lonesome. One first aid in hand.
He's not finished. Satan getting saved by the grace of God. Prestige is still in a bit of a 1v2 as now the revive comes out to 1v3 and GEEKAY finish off R8.
R8, unfortunately, not long for this world, and they're going to be out back into the lobby. NIGMA Galaxy Freak driving around. They still have all 4 up. They see that CONQUEROR now just driving and, you know, trying to get away as far as possible. Rio, though, allowing the open window for the rest of this team to kind of continue to drive and stopping the shots from Hamildy as they do just return the fight and get the knock onto Rio.
Both of these teams are outside the circle. Monica shifted over to the western side. The compound. Pride holds on to Major Pride is still in a major spot inside the circle. They're in the only compound, by the way, that's inside this Phase 5 circle. POWR Esports defending their buildings against the remaining players of CONQUEROR. I think it's just Riva that's left alive. Indeed, that is the case. And Nade out the cusp of the window. Nice ball through. It does connect on the Riva, but isn't finished off as he looks for another one. It's going to try and finish him off. Elhaji turns a corner and gets a final player, CONQUEROR. Sorry, Caliga's still alive. My apologies.
These teams in this region are just so powerful with the grenades. Just off of 1-2 footsteps, he can quickly just identify exactly in his mind where this player is hiding, bounce it off that windowsill, and did do so much damage onto Rio. And then it was just a quick peek on out, you know, 10 HP, and just get a couple shots and find it there. NIGMA Galaxy, though, this is their mad dash, no information at all, and trying to find somewhere to go. Freak needed to be revived, and only one in the general area to give him a revive.
Oh my god, NIGMA just full sending it. Freak is knocked down to just a trio. Kurt 12 are done, and Duster, we still have 11 teams. Okay, make that 10 as CONQUEROR are finished off. I like this for NIGMA Galaxy. There's a little bit of method behind the madness. They're looking to get ahead of POWR Esports and play on the underside of the dip. They throw out the smokes, trying to defend their backs, but this is going to be easier said than done because there is still that potential looming threat of a third party at the hands of SKYROCKET Esports.
I think we can just call it now and just call this compound the POWR compound because they are just always here. They defend it like their lives literally depend on it, as we now have SKYROCKET coming up on the back of this fight looking for a third party, and there are a lot of lateral sites down this compound from where Pride and SKYROCKET is at, so not a whole lot of hiding spots. POWR, though, throwing the grenades back as they've been pushed a little bit out of the central of the compound, and NIGMA Galaxy is using that to their advantage, now taking up the central spot right in between POWR and SKYROCKET.
There could potentially still be a bit of a third party from teams who are high up on towards the northern edge of the circle outside Everest. 90th minute, possibly GEEKAY spreading their way into the edge of this circle. The last player right in the center, the heart of this phase, as the next circle will continue in the direction of Rad. VISTA are eliminated in 10th. 9 teams are remaining.
The teams are all on the edge. We got the one player from NASR just hiding that little dip right into the hillside, which is okay. But again, he's one player left there. I wouldn't be surprised. Kind of full sent him. Trying to get here. Looks like SKYROCKET's evicting from this spot next to NIGMA Galaxy as they just leave this fight all to themselves. Major Pride finding a knock onto SKYROCKET.
Have they pushed too early? I would arguably say yes. They've lost 2 players. SKYROCKET's still up as a duo. Now the fight is going to start to break up between NIGMA Galaxy. POWR were a little bit by the likes of GEEKAY up and towards the northeastern edge of the circle, but they have got the knock as he is the on sliver of health, trying to get a first aid off. He does indeed, so 3 players strong to push in, try and find the right defense against NIGMA Galaxy, and they are finding a Roof meets his match in the form of Elhaji onto the side of POWR Esports. Is going to once again push his way in, and POWR Esports, they cannot be stopped, Monica.
NIGMA Galaxy just, I mean, they went forward and then they just all kind of retreated one after another and just was losing the fighting power. Pride have kind of ascended the mountain one more time to clear out their top side, where 90th minute is walking like a hawk over the top of the ball, trying to find it, does find the knock, and it's going to be a 1v1 at this point.
Oh, sweet baby, man, Jabal with that DP28 spray. As cool as a cucumber connecting onto Major Pride. GEEKAY, they suffered a knock, but they got the revive up. 90th minute have been finished off the back of a third party by the side of GEEKAY. SKYROCKET's still surviving, but let's be fair, they don't look good and wanted for SKYROCKET's. Gets a cheeky nade to finish off the majority of POWR Esports. His teammate does go down in the process, but sometimes You got to lose a player to gain a position, to gain an elimination point, and with GEEKAY finishing off, that leaves POWR Esports down to just a solo.
Remember, it was NASR that was out right there. SKYROCKET came and crashed up on there. Only one player left alive, just out in the open, and GEEKAY is going to collect up on that one. They passed go, and they collected their 20 bucks on Pyram. We're down to our 3 teams left. It's going to be a full team of GEEKAY, 3 from Pride, and just the 1 solo from POWR.
I'm being very impressed with GEEKAY and how they maneuver themselves around this map, initially spreading out between Ruins and Rosshawk. They took their time, they were cohesive, they were methodical, they pushed in onto Orid on the eastern edge of Everest, and since then it has been painting by numbers as they look to finish this game off. POWR Esports are eliminated, double-digit points in eliminations alone for GEEKAY as they try and look to seal this chicken dinner. Major Pride are on a good run though. They're looking a lot more positive in this game as the circle does shift its way down south. Frozen is quite close to the edge of the circle. So is Satan. This is a clean 2-team fight. 4v3. The body advantage in the favor of GEEKAY.
GEEKAY, though, they've come back from worse circumstances here 4-up as they return the knock onto Pride, pushing into a 4 versus 2. So all the aggression is in the laps of GEEKAY. Pride is going to be pretty spread out here, but you can see them revving their engines and Pyram as they're coming in, and the knock gets returned as well. So both teams doing heavy damage back and forth.
Milky Way is doing a great job outside the circle, but in my eyes, Frozen needed to wake up. He needed to create that distraction point on that western edge of the circle. He didn't, and his teammate has been focused, has been targeted, and it's still 3 players strong for GEEKAY. 1v3, just a ridge, just a tree in front of them, and a pocket full of dreams. He chucks a nade out. He's been spotted. GEEKAY have full scope of where he is, and with the 3 players strong, they're going to look to seal this game off with a cheeky run over. Guys is playing it in. The third party from Frozen will at least try and get him sent off. Satan is going to get knocked. Guys is going to push in. Guys is going to get knocked. This is a 1v1. Is this the throw of the century? Is Frozen going to clutch up against the might of GEEKAY Esports? This is so close. As we towing things down, we're in a 1v1. The circle is technically in the favor of Major Pride. And Molly is going to connect. They know exactly where they are. Boom! It connects! On shot! On target! It's going to send Ragnar away. And this is going to once again become a true 1v1. His second pushes through. Frozen. He's going for it. Can he clutch off for his side? Yes, he can! Major Pride with the chicken dinner.
So where GEEKAY was able to pull off a 1v3 in the last week to win the match, they got a reverse Udo card, and this time it was going to be Major Pride to flip the tables onto them and push the one. So they just kind of negated Gates 1v3 from last week, am I right, Imperium? And now they're the ones that have gotten 1v3'd at the end for Major Pride. A massive chicken dinner. So impressive to win that Erangel match.
Mwah. Chef's kiss finish. Firstly, thank you to both teams for giving us genuinely such a good fight. In the end, right, coming down to 2 teams is something we probably haven't seen enough in PMPL Arabia because teams are so resilient and fight till the bitter end. Definitely a bit of a throw from GEEKAY. They were quite presumptuous in that 1v3.
Yeah.
The timing of that engagement with Gaith and the vehicle and Satan pushing out in the open was not there. However, Frozen did so much. He made a mistake by not being that distractive when he had teammates alive, but when push came to shove, I said coming into this tournament, Frozen is one of the most exciting players I've seen in the past, and he strikes like an iron fist in that game.
So we're seeing higher eliminations points here. It's the Erangel that we know. 12 eliminations actually from GEEKAY, just 1 up Major Pride. And I think GEEKAY just really set themselves up, always being very fluid, moving into those fights and able to just just accumulate as many as possible. We do see Vista Gaming though. They've they've gotten 5 points, which is all the points that they got from yesterday. But I guess having a very average game for themselves. But let's take a look at the second half though, Imperium. How did this second half of this match shake out?
And I'm still blown away by that finish. The thunder has been stolen. I know we're on to the second page, but do want to highlight SKYROCKET Esports getting 12 points. It's a big boost in the right direction for them. Team Falcons in their own right, they were all good coming into today. They pick up 4 points. All right, only getting 1. OOREDOO Thunder's only getting 1. 4K getting 0. It's getting a little bit squeaky bum time for a couple of those teams.
I mean, SKYROCKET, like you highlighted, getting 12 points. I think they were just one of those teams that were just constantly just action after action after action too. Unfortunately, a team like 4K that we saw them do very surprisingly well in certain days are just not having a great start today, and especially with that 0 point for this past Erangel match.
You know what, Monica? I made
What?
a bet. I lost a bet. And I was thinking, I'm not going to do it straight away. I'm going to wait for the right moment to pull this off. And off the back of a great clutch moment from Frozen, it's time. I know we're going to get to a break, but just as we go out, it's a monster chug.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I want the monster.
See you guys after the break.
Adversity in bad situations meet us in the middle of the path that we take it. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit it? Will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes? Back when this life asks for the fade, can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? You wait, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all. But it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss, you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all. But this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up.
Welcome back to League Week 2, day number 2, the PMPL Arabia full split. Brought to you by the wonderful Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile, Middle East and Africa esports in 2022. As well as that, you can also get yourself the in-game Grizzly Bear set. Join the card collection draw and win some outfits. There's a chance to get all the pieces of an item in one go. Monica, I gave out kind of bear facts and bear jokes because we're celebrating the card collection draw. Have you got any for us?
Okay, so in Chinese, the panda, right? The name is 大熊猫. If you translate that to English, that stands for like giant bear cat is what it technically comes out to. So I thought that may be your fact, kind of interesting. Giant bear cat.
So instead of the grizzly bear collection, it's a grizzly giant bear cat collection.
Yeah, I mean, there's those cat companions right now in game, right? Let's just combine the crates.
Why not? Brilliant, brilliant. Well, let's combine the schedule we have of the games we've seen today and the games we have coming up. We've witnessed the Sanhok and Erangel already, but we still have 3 more games to go. Sanhok with a sandwich of Erangel, ending on Sanhok.
Man, Sanhok was, I'm trying to remember. So we had YALLA and GEEKAY always dropping in to bootcamp together. We didn't have YALLA play the first game. Yeah. Is GEEKAY back for this one? And are we going to see some bootcamp action?
Interesting. While you find that out, I'm going to give a shout out to Monster, the official energy drink partners of PUBG Mobile. I still have some of my Monster Red. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't chug it when we got the break. I stopped it, but I will have another drink right now. So once again, thank you to Monster. Let's get into game number 3 of the day. I don't think I even need more energy for this Sanhok game because I feel like it's going to be a monster.
So we do have GEEKAY.
I didn't even acknowledge it. Terrible.
In the Smash.
Acknowledge my pun. Anyway, go on.
I was saying, you wanted me to look it up, but... So GEEKAY is in the Smash. I'm trying to figure out where exactly they're going to end up going, because right now, I only see YALLA heading over towards the bootcamp-ish area. Really? Oh, there they are. They're hiding underneath them. That's what it was. The colors were merging together for me, Imperium, and I was like, couldn't see the difference. But we are going to get bootcamp. I think, what is this? Part 8? Part...
yeah, I don't know. It's like a Fast and Furious franchise at this stage. You don't know what movie you're on, but you're gonna watch it anyway.
Well, looks like this time though, YALLA gonna be the first casualty in this fight as GEEKAY is now gonna putting on the aggression. I mean, I think they're pretty even right now, Imperium, and we'll see who is able to win this one now in this Sanhok match today.
Who has the best family in this fight between the two teams? DBS shots coming out from late of YALLA Esports, trying to find the time to get the revive off. They did so for the first knocker return by YALLA. Bumper, that's pretty good. Followed by a second. The man steps up, he steps down, he gets a knock, and that's going to be GEEKAY under so much pressure. As far as you know, Hope, yeah, he's the last standing. He's the last hope for GEEKAY Esports, and he's trying to back away. He's going to put himself into the gutter of bootcamp. I call it the gutter because it's a place that you go and you don't really come out as successfully, and YALLA push it. They take out the winners of, the second place team of the previous game, GEEKAY Esports.
Hopping now onto Major Pride, who had that massive 1-3 at the end to win the match, going toe-to-toe with FALCONS now, all the way in Kampong. So this is on the almost opposite side of the map. Pride is going to be waiting here. So it looks like they've already found 1 elimination so far, just meeting together. I think going as one as Major Pride. They're kind of stuck all on top of each other in the same building as FALCONS doing what their namesake does, just kind of swarming around on the outsides and having the different angles and chokeholding them within this one central spot.
There's shades of the kind of fight we had between Rad and NIGMA in the first Sanhok game in what we're seeing right now. I know it's still within a city area per se, so there's not as much benefit to the alternative angles Falcon have. However, being separated, they are technically a little bit more protected in those isolated buildings. They're allowing Major Pride, though, to separate, to get some angles of their own, and that should mean that we become a little bit more of a stalemate between these two teams.
Stalemate, when you have these kind of hot drops like this, you want to wrap it up a little bit quickly, right? Because they are eventually at some point they're going to be out of the circle, and then you kind of overcommitted to the point where you can't really I'm just gonna cut my losses, because not only am I not going to get the zone, I'm not going to get any eliminations here if they leave too late in the game. So here it's kind of, I think they've got to the point of almost no return. They're just staying here, and I think these two teams, both these two teams, Falcons feeling very confident being at the top of the leaderboards. Major Pride, I think they were 5th place or so. Got a chicken dinner.
They're
also
now
very
third.
confident. Yeah. So each of these two teams, it's the ego fight right now.
There is the leaderboard, by the way, for everybody watching, up in the top of your screens. It scrolls in 4s, going from 1st all the way to 20th. Those are live scores. So at the moment, you can see the current bottom 4 teams are, as we will switch on over in a sec, the side of Twisted Minds, Rad, OOREDOO Thunders, and VISTA Gaming.
90th minute, we just saw them very close to SKYROCKET up in the northwestern side of the circle. I mean, these are two teams that aren't really up there towards the top, so just kind of trying to take each other out. VISTA Gaming, though, they're the ones that we saw them have that really clean win against 4K, and now are up against the likes of Triple Esports. Triple Esports, this is a hard fight to take because they're on their bellies. Grass is high here, Imperium, so it's very hard to see anyway, and they're just third-person perspective peeking. See if anyone from VISTA will peek on out, and it's going to be the first opening grenade to open this fight. VISTA Gaming now down to 1, getting immediately flushed out, and Triple Esports creeping on a little bit closer, but they're looking for the information here, and it's just rats coming up over the grass as VISTA now put down to 1. It is going to be hanging out in the distance a little bit too far to provide the support, and Sunrise running with his tail tucked between his legs.
The last player standing, looking to turn that sunrise into a sunset and set the engagement against Triple Esports and finish him off. Instead, he does chuck out a smoke, tries to cover himself as he looks to get the revive onto Dino. It will leave VISTA Gaming only as a duo coming into the closing moments of this engagement. One revive is pulled off, and instantly NASR being cooked up. The very quick reaction times being played out by Triple, but in their own right, off the back of getting the revive, Sunrise instantly disengages away from Dino. So I really like how both teams have reacted to the revives that have come out. Unfortunately, though, Triple Esports have gotten 3 players up, so for VISTA Gaming, they still have the body disadvantage.
Body disadvantage and the downhill slope as Push and Clever have come up into the faces of VISTA. They heard the footsteps start. They know they're down there. They have them cornered. Obviously can do the math and know that it's going to be 2 men down into the compound as we switch real close by. Not R8 versus the only one.
Okay, swift rotation by the only one. They do come down in this direction. Again, alright, like we said during the first game, a notable kind of movement change by R8 coming out of Paradise Resort, where they're still disengaging away from that area relatively early, but they're not going as deep into the phase 1 circle as we've seen in previous Sanhok games, and I think it's a positive because it still allows them to control a good portion, but they're not getting surrounded or swarmed by too many teams behind, and it has, for now, resulted in 1 clean elimination point.
R8 too, their whole full team isn't right in this area yet because they came in from Paradise. They've kind of exited out of the huge compound to find themselves in the laps of the only one. Looks like, though, in the distance, remember that fight, that 90th minute versus SKYROCKET that we start about to erupt. Looks like they found a first knock to open it up. But R8, I mean, this is right in their backyard, right? They're in Paradise Resort, they're sitting pretty, and they're just waiting here for the only one.
90th minute. They moved away from Hatting, or should I say they attempted to, and SKYROCKET's their patience has been rewarded. It's not without potential threat, as Rip was knocked in his own right. Confirmation does mean that 90th minute are guaranteed to be down a player. I don't think they're in a position to really push this. Jabal knows that he can't really go too far away from this coastline with his two teammates still inside Hatting.
This is a really difficult spot for 90th minute because they've come across the water to the point where it's all open, right? It's like kind of beach. They've come up, just a couple of rocks to hide behind. And it's just not somewhere you can easily exit out of unless they go right back into the water. But SKYROCKET is definitely going to be watching them. This is kind of the sequel of that fight, Imperium. Triple Esports versus VISTA. And they have to watch Road to Glory, who were the winners of the Sanhok the first match today. So they're sitting really confidently coming into this Sanhok match, and they're just kind of lingering. They've definitely heard the shots from before, but I think a little bit too far to kind of encroach on a third party.
I haven't really talked too much about this phase on because of, once again, the action has been pretty consistent across this early game. Prioritizing on the mainland is certainly quite positive for the team's focus on trying and control areas inside this game, and phase 2 does shift a little bit over to the northwest. Once again, dominating that mainland with Paradise Resort in the heart of it.
Paradise Resort's right in the heart. I like that R8 not committing to a come on out, and this is the one more time VISTA and Triple Esports. So these two teams are just kind of, no one is willing to open the fight, right? They're just still kind of getting the information, push, just not ready to push, even though there's a team of VISTA. I don't know if he is aware there's a player just sitting in that little watchtower. So I mean, this is the beauty and the horror of Sanhok, right, Imperium, where it's like you never know where.
It does look like Triple Esports are not trying to be too tunnel visioned in that area of the map, by the way, which I do appreciate. Falcons and Major Pride now starting to really engage on each other. How long is, what, 10 minutes and they're finally starting to take the fight? Jesus, guys, talk about taking your time. Falcon have lost 2 players. The push is coming in, though, as the trades are there. It's not exactly the best for Major Pride in terms of place to be in. They do still have a full health player close by in the form of Milky Way. Frozen is knocked. The confirmations come through. We're in a 2v2. Frozen is still alive, but he needs to try and get... Okay, he's only got an energy drink to try and give him any kind of sustainability in this fight.
Literally a drink in-game and out of it. Pride frozen, no meds whatsoever as they're pushing to try to find powerful Falcon. I think they've isolated him now. He is well aware of this and jumps up to the back, tries to get it, gets a knock out of one in the alleyway, but get knocked in return. So we're back to where we started. A 1 versus 1. Pride as never alone. Now trying to fight him through the doorway as he crept on up the stairwell. And they're just playing Ring Around the Rosie around the stairway.
Never alone, wants the points, wants to stab the heart of Major Pride, and now Frozen, the player that clutched up against GEEKAY in the previous game. Can he clutch up once again? Runs, punches the air, needs to get his gun out and starts to make a move. Pre-fires around the corner of the wall. Never alone is up into this building. It is indeed Ring Around the Rosie. Pocket full of Posey. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Who will be the one to fall down between these two players? Never alone, trying to get the first move in around the gaps of the wall. He peeks around, uses a third party, goes for a bait nade. That's clever play, but Frozen, he doesn't fall for it.
This is the most long drawn out 1 versus 1 ever as Frozen, never alone. They're going for the in-game record of the longest amount of time dedicated to a 1 versus 1. All of them, they're out in the blue zone, popping up those energies, taking their bar as high as possible, as again, still holding hands out in the blue zone, going into the 13-minute mark almost.
Time for Frozen to get some energy drinks on board, get some painkillers into his system, try and sustain against the blue. You can see that Never Alone has a lot less available in his back pack, right? So if anybody's going to really make the push and take the risk, in my eyes, it's never alone. Frozen can survive this for so much longer, but does he know he can survive for much longer?
Definitely don't know as they find themselves vaulting himself out of the window way. I guess Falcons maybe descended, went flying too close to ground, and it's going to be Major Pride to take them out. So, I mean, great job to Major Pride, but oh my god, how did we miss this? That was like 4 clowns in a car jammed up in there, one after another, just eject, and get out of this boat about to blow.
Oh man, that's why botations are extremely risky, and realistically you should only be pulling them off within the first circle. Anything past that is once again a massive risk, and Rad pay the ultimate price. Now 90th minute, after that did go down, I believe, against SKYROCKET, if I'm not mistaken. Phase 3 shifted up north. We are down to 12 teams, 39 players.
39 players. You can see why Sanhok is one of the most action-packed matches in PUBG Mobile. YALLA, though, we are still running from that southwestern side. 5 eliminations found from this team so far. Now turning their eyesights onto R8, who's returned kind of right into that Paradise Resort area. So I think it's just a little bit too many leaves, though, to get some good visuals. So they're just kind of, you know, they see an elbow, they shoot it. Opportunistic knock, hopefully, but I think just didn't quite able to find the corners.
For a split second, I was like surprised at YALLA already on 5 eliminations, and then I quickly realized, oh yeah, they were fighting against GEEKAY and Bootcamp, and they came out on top. So yeah, 4 eliminations from that alone. They picked up 1 since that, and they're into the southern edge of the circle. Rad, 2 players down. They have no vehicles. They're running on foot. How much healing do they have? How much utility do they have? It's going to be a tough task ahead of them. And NASR looking pretty good inside this game so far.
NASR, they were, I believe it was the last game, they went out just a little bit too early. Have already lost 1 so far. I mean, they're still not quite within, and they still have to remember this field that they have to cross to get in the circle. It has R8 and YALLA up at the top, and Twisted Minds now joining the party, being able to look down on them. So NASR, this is definitely not the easiest way to get in. Maybe, you know, come out back in the circle. That's the beauty of playing Edge, and find an easier way. Pride Frozen, though, after that, you know, the longest 1v1 of the century, finally just getting his car, just kind of trash looting all the way up into there, because he definitely needs some meds, because he burns so much in that Kampong fight versus, who is it again? It took so long that I completely forgot what team it was now. Falcons.
Yeah, I think it was Falcons. It was indeed Falcons. Interesting what NIGMA Galaxy have done. They did pull off a botation, by the way, but in a much cleaner
and rad.
In a much cleaner perspective part of the map, where less teams drop. If Major Pride and Falcons had avoided each other and not taken that fight, it most likely would have been a little bit tougher for NIGMA. They didn't know that. In my eyes, they did make a little bit of a safer rotation, and it's worked out for them.
It's definitely just accidentally worked out for them, because the circle, you can see on the eastern side, there's nobody in the general area. They can just come in, get the information, see there's nobody there. I'm a little scared for this one solo player, Pride, as we see rolling into the midst, right where NIGMA Galaxy is trying to come into the circle. But let's focus on NASR now, that 3-man trying to find their way in. It looks like they did, yeah, it was too hard to come in on that side with all those teams there, so they just backed up out in the blue, very smart move, and are now rotating up on the northern side.
Okay, interesting that. Interesting coming out from NASR Esports. Alright, in their own right, they drop in around Paradise. They should know they've actually sent 3 players into Paradise. Twisted Minds are going to play through in their own right. The only one are ahead of R8. There were already lots of players at the hands of R8 earlier on in this game. The one compound that's in the center of the circle has nobody occupying it, by the way. And the final player, Major Pride, got in the vehicle, went right into the circle. And honestly, he's found a position, at least on his own, that is out of dodge just a little bit.
Seems so odd that R8 has allowed Twisted Minds to run out into the open across the field on the outskirts of Paradise Resorts and now find themselves head-to-head within the city of Paradise Resorts. So, I mean, taking the fight within the city is going to take forever, and it's going to be kind of Falcons versus Major Pride 2.0. Twisted Minds, I think, trying to just get a knock on R8, but not wanting to commit into the walls of the city and getting pigeonholed on that side, especially here where they don't have any spot in the circle.
And to be fair, Twisted Minds have committed to this side of Paradise Resort. They can't really go out on the outskirts because YALLA are most likely going to be in the compound, and they should have a lot of information or a lot of presumption that a team are inside that compound on the southeastern edge of the circle. RTG, they suffered a couple of knocks. Shako could do absolutely nothing. As NASR, they are going in on a tear. They want to take control. They want to continue to fight their way into the edge of the circle. Blue Zone, be damned, they are looking for the final players of RTG. Shako and Vault, 2 players left standing.
Miracle and NASR, they're coming in a little bit closer. I mean, this is a classic Road to Glory. Didn't check their backside, didn't assume anyone was on that side, and NASR was able to just to run up in their Tesla. It would come onto the eastern, or right-hand side of this big rock outcropping, and Humam, he's got the grenade now. He's just tossing it right into their midst. But this is a needless loss for Road to Glory because they didn't clear out their backs.
Curd 12 suffering more than a couple of casualties. I believe they're now down to 2 players, but SKYROCKETs are still alive. They got 12 very important points in the previous game. I believe they still have 3 players going for themselves at this point, possibly a 4th if they can get the revive, but they need to get rid of the side of Curd 12. Rad, Sidat, and Rex, 2 players are left up for this side.
Major Pride, that last solo does go out in 12th position, so well fought out to survive for this long as we do hit that 20-minute mark. The only one, him and his teammate, looks like they got R8 that they're trying to fight on against. He evicted himself out of the window and finding himself under the shot. So R8 just, I mean, they came in out of Paradise and now just taking the pain from everyone else in the circle.
I really appreciate that by Rad, by the way, splitting into 1-1 and having one healing in the blue and the other pushing forward to try and do something to have any kind of impact. Unfortunately, he goes down, but again, that one player is healing in the blue. How many extra positional points will he get off the back of it? Little bit of a stalemate, but as the circle shifts down south, all the teams up north are going to have to go downhill, go across the road, and try and find a position inside the edge of the circle. It is going to be so difficult as YALLA are getting so close to RTG.
Yeah, Road to Glory, even down to 50% capacity, they still have a great spot within the circle. They've got the skinnier edge, circle shifted onto them. Nobody's going to be rotating in from the back. Just hope that a stronger team like YALLA from the western side doesn't try to roll up on top of them. They don't have the circle. Definitely their eyesights are exactly where Road to Glory is. We see Curd 12 get eliminated in 9th position as Twisted Minds, just not quite enough first aids. The blue zone is going to take it out.
That's going to give Rod an extra positional point for the time being. Triple Esports in the row right. You have a player healing in the blue. Lovely shots by Shaka. You said they had this thin edge of the circle and behind a rock, even though they have to watch every single angle they have. By chucking the smoke off the back of those knocks, he's able to give himself a bit more confidence to play in. You can see Rex healing up. How many first aids does he have left? How much time do YALLA have in front of them? How much space? Very, very little, as the bullets are being sprayed through an RTG. They're so close to getting that squad wipe. Another one goes down. Just Bumpa left alive.
I mean, YALLA was just nowhere to go, just out in the open, trying to come in and die to the likes of one player from Road to Glory. Rad is going to be out after they were in that boat. They are going to be just metting it off, and if it's any map to do it, it is going to be Sanhok, as we're down to it. Imperium, 2 versus 1, and one of them is out in the blue, metting it. Rad.
RTG, man, like, so resilient off the back of an initial push by NASR, by the way. NASR didn't finish them off. There was a lot of pressure around that, by the way, so don't hold out against NASR. both of these teams have been able to survive off the back of the circles, shifting down south in the later phases. Rad go down, but they went from, I think, 8th to 3rd, so that's definitely a good improvement. But now as it's NASR in a 1v2, RTG finish the job, finish the game, finish this chicken dinner in Sanhok.
I think RTG is saying, why couldn't this be Super Weekend right now? Because this is their, is it right? This is their second chicken dinner of the day.
Yeah.
Both of them on Sanhok. So I guess Quarry is the place to go because Road to Glory has had such great circles and rotations into both of these. And Road to Glory, just like you said, they had that kind of fight between them and NASR, and they just kind of gentleman's agreement, shook hands, went opposite ways, and then found themselves once again at the end, and they finished in a first and a second place.
Yeah, and it was tough, like I said, for the teams up north when it did shift massively down south. Not only were the majority of teams in that direction, but again, they had really very little area in front of them. You saw how little YALLA had to decide. Like, they moved an inch, and RTG were shooting. They moved another inch, RTG were shooting. There's really nothing they could do. It was still a great game for YALLA Esports as they picked up 12 in total. Road to Glory off the back of the chicken dinner, grabbed themselves another 21 points.
Yeah, again, the patterns that we see in Sanhok is just the eliminations for each team is a little bit more spread out towards the other teams, just because it's easier to get those. We're in a little smaller of a map, so you're not really having those full force teams coming into the end, right? We keep seeing these kind of 3-2-1 players up for the teams coming in at the end. So just not as many opportunities for going all out and striking out like on Miramar and Erangel, but great job to Road to Glory, second chicken dinner of the day.
Such an important result for Rad. They were coming into this game on a total of 19 points in 6 games. This is their second last game and they pick up 14 points. They still need another good game. It puts them on a total of 30 now. Sorry, not 30, 33 in their 7 games. So with one more game, I would arguably say 10 points will be comfortable enough. But within that, there's no guarantee. So Rad, still so much more to do.
Let's take a look at the second half though. But Imperium Rad, they're doing well. But let's look at the second half, who just isn't quite doing well. GEEKAY, I mean, overall, they were doing obviously very well. The first 2 games, they had great performance. I think it's just this landing in boot camp, and it's just kind of, you know, killing them right now, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. They can afford it, but going into Super Weekend, you don't ever want to, I don't know if we're going to get points or not this game because we're hot dropping in boot camp.
Not to get too speculative, of course, I mentioned about Rad needing that good result and getting it in this game. SKYROCKET's only picked up 4. The only one only picked up 4. Those 2 teams, it actually puts them on a total of 30 points. So at the moment, Rad have moved up ahead of them. There's still 2 more games to go. So again, the door is open across the way. SKYROCKET Esports, they are playing this next game, Monica, but that's going to be their final game.
Yeah.
They're not going to be playing in that last game of the day.
So this is their time that they need to go, go big or literally go home, right? If they don't put up the points this last one.
Definitely.
So they're looking at the teams that aren't in this next match. It's going to be 90th minute, GEEKAY, NIGMA Galaxy, and Rad.
Still 2 more games to go. Let's head to the Oppo moment highlights and take a quick break. We'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
perfection. Ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who won it? No problem. We mobbing. In the city, plenty habit causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping. Throwing raves, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had those stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes still trying to add that price. Get a yo, cooking about to add that spice. Nowadays, dudes never had that fight. When the push blue, better burst your pipes.
Welcome back to the PMPL Arabia Full Split League Week 2, day number 2, brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Oppo. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile, Middle East and Africa esports in 2022. And you can use the Oppo Reno 7 to grab yourself the Grizzly Bear crate in game. You can get all of the items in one go. The Grizzly Bear card collection is here for you to get your hands on it. Monica, 2 more games to go. Opportunities are there, but they are slowed down for a couple of teams. It's whittled down to just 1 game left. It's going to be close.
This is down to the wire. We've got 2 matches left. Erangel coming up and Sanhok next. So this is going to be the chopping block for some of these teams. Remember, top 16 to get it into Super Weekend. So let's look at overall and see who's sitting pretty and who is really starting to sweat these last couple matches.
Honestly, top 8, I really don't have anything to say. They've all done good. Well done. Thank you very much. Kudos. Let's move on to the second page. It's where it becomes so much more important. You look at the matches played, right? SKYROCKET's rad. All right, they all only have 1 game left, 30-33. Like I said, this is SKYROCKET Esports' final game, Monica.
Final game for sure. And remember, the teams that aren't playing this one's going to be 90th minute, GEEKAY, NIGMA Galaxy, and Rad. So if I was Rad, I'd be like, oh, 3 minutes from that bottom part. But let's see, the 4 teams at the very, very bottom, Imperium. Who is starting? If I were these teams, I'm like, oh my god, like 90th minute. They got 1 chance, not this game, but the next one. But everyone else, though, it's just a couple of points of difference between 17th and 18th. Wow. But the last ones, they're really far.
Couple of surprises as we get into our 4th game of the day, the final Erangel game of this league week number 2. So after this one, we won't see it until the Super Weekend number 2. So enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit of a decent playing path. Monica shifting over from the southwest to a little bit of the northeast.
Now we can breathe a little bit, right? Sanhok is just action after action to action, never having a break. But Erangel, now this is where the players know this game, right? They played Erangel the most out of any other map because it was the first one that came out ever, right? So here we do have some of these last opportunity at all to get any points to try to qualify for Super Weekend.
SKYROCKET. Can they get the job done then? Can they pull out a bit of a surprise, I would argue? Can they beat the challenge of the likes of OOREDOO Thunders and Twisted Minds, can they put the pressure on the likes of the only one leading into the second Super Weekend? Honestly, I'm on their side. Bring it on. Prove us wrong. Do what you need to do.
We keep having deja vu, and these teams must be like, what is with these casters today? And just giving us just Gatka, like South Georgia Pole circles time and time again. Let's just remember the last Erangel match. It did end just in that kind of southern, what do you call it, cave or southern kind of hump of the Mount Everest up there. So I think some of these teams are just gonna, especially the ones on the outside, I think they're gonna prioritize rotating more, right? Because they need to get into that spot. So might just see like RTG, like 4K if they're in here, the only one, loot up real fast, and then get into the center and do their kind of second part of looting while still having a good central position.
I can see more teams, even though this is naturally has happened most times, now more than ever, I see a lot of teams prioritizing that eastern side of the phase one, right? Going from around Gatka to the ruins, Hecha Hills area of the map, just in terms of presuming where the circle is going to end up based on what we've seen so far in the PMPL Arabia.
Triple Esports. This is just to the west of the kind of shelter area. These two teams, they had a long jump to try to get all the way over to where they usually loot, and this is just kind of the case of you got a PP-19 by zone and no scope whatsoever. Just grab what you can and just shoot in the distance and hope you can land the shots. First knock of the match and flush is going to be on to Triple Esports push the first team down to only 75% capacity.
The only one esports, squeaky bum time for them in their own right. They do have 2 games left, to be fair, as far as I know. Yes, they do. But they are in 16th on 30 points. And again, when we take into account that they are the lowest performing team in the first Super Weekend, out of the teams that did qualify, obviously, for Super Weekend number 1, they really need this second Super Weekend under the belt.
Let's see these teams of Vista, though. They are desperate for these points, Imperium, because they're just kind of fast and furious chasing after anyone that they can. Twisted Minds, another one that did so great in the first Super Weekend, and I'm not sure what happened in the 2 days in between because they are currently real low into the bottoms here. You can see them here. Average survival time, 16 minutes. That's not long at all, Imperium. That's barely making it, halfway through.
And with an average elimination of only 1.33, they're not even doing much within those average of 16 minutes that they're getting. OOREDOO Thunders, yes, they're surviving for just a little bit longer. Yeah. Look at that average of eliminations, 0.33. That is frankly not good enough.
Yeah, just to give you guys some perspective, an average Erangel match will last 31 minutes or so. So when you're cut in half like that, that means 31, that 31, something like that. You're just not even making it to maybe the 5th phase circle even. You're just dying off early. You're not rotating well enough, or you're just not winning those fights. But of course, we're having Erangel stats right out of yesterday and today, so it's only maybe what 4 or 5. I think this is the 5th match of Erangel they've played now.
No, this is between the third and fourth Erangel game of this league week.
Yes.
Depending on who you are, of course. For the teams that are playing today, this is their 4th final Erangel game of league week number 3. Vista Gaming went to Pachinki. There's no NIGMA Galaxy, so that city is open for the taking. They've been waiting for this time, right? They've been waiting, but like, we'll get Pachinki 1 game. We'll do it. We'll wait.
Yes, this is our time to shine because the bully on the playing ground got suspended for the week, so now we can take the spot. I mean, this is Vista Gaming, Vista Esports. They're one of those scavenger teams, right? They don't really have a spot for themselves, so they look who is not here. Where can we go? Because there's definitely not going to be anyone there.
Phase on Blue Zone starting to close in. We're 6 minutes in, and we're still seeing a threat of action. We haven't quite seen it as we've only lost one player, but there's been threats, whether it's VISTA, Twisted Mind, whether it's kind of POWR and CONQUEROR rack like we've seen. And by the way, a bit of at least a perspective difference. You see that POWR Esports compared to OOREDOO and Twisted Minds. POWR Esports on an average of 10 eliminations per game in Erangel. That is redonkulous. Like, actually redonkulous.
Is that a real word? Redonkulous?
It's like ridiculous, only upgraded.
It's ridiculous drinking some Monster. And upgraded
There you
ridiculous.
go. Boom.
There
Boom.
we go.
Yes.
There
yes.
it is. Perfect. So, I mean, redonkulous indeed. I mean, what is redonkulous though? POWR is just.
Oh wow.
Man, I got some high hopes for them, but I think this is Vista's brand, right? They just pull up on somebody by themselves as a two-man. They did this in NIGMA Galaxy last week, and they just steamroll the one, right? You know, 2 is better than 1, and take POWR out. But once again, the infamous POWR compound.
I kind of appreciate this from Vista Gaming. Moving out of Pachinki this early does make sense, and I did kind of highlight how teams would prioritize a little bit more towards this eastern half of the circle. So them wanting to take a central compound such as the POWR Esport compound does make sense, and they do catch POWR Esports off guard.
POWR Esports is just kind of the classic tale of being caught off guard, right? Because we saw, I think it was last week, 90th minute, crashed up on the back of this compound, and POWR was just none the wiser. POWR is going to return that pain back onto Vista as he gets a knock, but knocked in return. So, I mean, how are you going to sit there, crouch in the middle of the open, and get a knock and not have any sort of hard cover right next to you to hide behind?
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least.
Interesting.
OOREDOO Thunder starting to move out of the military island on a side note, as Phase 1 is getting towards the tail end of Phase 2. Vista Gaming, they're going for broke. It's kind of all or nothing for them, and I can appreciate it. I really can.
I mean, when you put yourself in such a deep hole, you really need to go all for nothing. Looks like POWR able to get their player up, and he's able to just give him the slip, Houdini himself out of that terrible position.
Here's the thing, though. To me, that's kind of job done from Vista Gaming. Would they have liked to have picked up more eliminations from it?
Yeah.
Of course, who doesn't? In terms of pushing a team back, in terms of creating that space for you to maneuver off the back of the next circle shift, yeah, job done. POWR have moved away. And with Phase 2 shifting up the west, this is a different story. We haven't quite seen a circle like this. A lot of George Paul in play.
A lot of George Bull in play, and what's not in play is all that land in the water, kind of that bay area of Georgia Pools. So, I mean, this is kind of, it could go to the north side of Georgia Pool, it could stay on the southern side. I think there's a little bit more on the southern side, so we'll see. And I think we're seeing a lot of these teams now gearing up, sending that kind of hospital area, lots of compounds just in that South Georgia Pool area. The only one, remember, we saw them having a little bit of a scuffle with, what was it again? Right, Triple Esports, I think, right off the bat.
Yeah.
And now they're slowly making their way super late, but it could be okay if they can kind of stay on the southern side or just pick a side that isn't really congested with too many teams.
So the Bay's out of play. Who's going to commit to San Francisco in the former South and North George Paul? Will the circle end on the Golden Gate Bridge on the western side of this map? Remains to be seen. NASR are going to be a team to push up towards Hospital 1. Their players will get knocked. Can a confirmation come through for Major Pride? Not quite. I think the crawling attempt by NASR Esports has worked out, but Nomi is going on his own. Where's the rest of the team? Where's the response? Where's the suppression? It's there in the form of Milky Way. Nomi is still on his own. It is an isolated 1v1 fight, and Humam comes out on top. Milky Way is there, possibly just about on time as Humam is damaged.
Milky Way coming over the top, and he does get the knock on to NASR. So, I mean, it was good. We were a little scared for Nomi because he came in all by himself. We're like, what are you doing? But we didn't see the full picture. He had Milky Way as a little bit of support, as now Miracle. I mean, they're just pulling up one by one and trying to go hit the reset, but Milky Way, he's not going to let them clean that one up, and he's going to take them, put them out of their mercy. As you do see, it looks like Vista crashing up on the back side of Major Pride.
But you also have, I think, CONQUEROR getting involved as well. SKYROCKET Esports as well. So the western side of this map is a haven. It's interesting that I said most teams will be looking to clamoring onto the eastern side of phase 1, expecting the circle to kind of continue in this direction based off what we've seen in previous Erangel games. That's why this game can be so tough, sometimes so unforgiving, because it can be so unpredictable based off the circle shifts, right? It's crazy to deal with.
What is going on here? We have POWR now joining the fight that started with NASR versus Pride and Vista Gaming here as well. So POWR trading one GEEKAY compound for one a little bit closer to Hospital. Pride is now put down to only 3 players, but have 2 eliminations to show for it. I think at this point there, hey, we landed in North Georgia Pole. We know it's safe, so we're going to return back up into the safety. Here, now though, we see the circle is coming in now. So we have about half, maybe not half, maybe 40% of the teams up on the northern side, and the other half kind of committing to the southern side here. So Imperium, it could go either way, I think, at this point. So it depends. I mean, it could go either way. It's still way out in the water, Imperium, but I think this is going to be a South Georgia Pole circle for this match.
Oh, man. What a phase 3 shift. That was the most natural reaction I could have given. We do see a replay of what Frozen did once again. My God, like the guy does everything that he can to keep Major Pride in a good spot. But he did end up going down off the back of Vista's full body push. We transition over to the action as OOREDOO Thunder do react, being in a good position. They start to get hot and heavy.
OOREDOO Thunder coming up from the military base, so they've rotated quite the way. Such a journey to get up onto this kind of Hospital, South Georgia Pole side. And they find a pretty nice compound here, a great way to save their cars, and no one in their general area. But, I mean, this is not where the action is. It's down over on that eastern side, as now K12 crashing up onto YALLA, who had so many eliminations in that past Sanhok match. And now it's going to be just late up on the top. Very similar situation to where Major Pride was up just as well.
And FALCONS getting involved. Last is going to be able to at least help his team get an elimination knock onto the players. A YALLA 3-way dance. YALLA were playing in from North George, by the way. In the previous circle, they had one of their players safe across that Golden Gate Bridge, and they tried to use that to push forward into the buildings, but it's just unpredictable at times, and nothing too much they can do. Katan is finished off or knocked down from YALLA, as far as I know. So that leaves that, it is finished off. So YALLA, now just only 2 players left.
You can see Kurd12 kind of mobilizing in the background, really wanting to get in on this fight. But Falcon, remember, they weren't able to really win that fight against who was it, Major Pride last game, so they really wanted to collect the eliminations now. We have Kurd12. They do come in for the third party, get a knock onto Falcons and stop the push, as Falcon just returns it right back to them and gets a knock in return. So these two teams, they were about to step out the door and immediately put a stop, as YALLA now has a little more time to put some more distance between them and Falcon.
Luckily for Kurd12, they're a team that are in the best position to disengage out of these 3 teams, right? YALLA and Falcons are much more heavily pinched against each other. It's like they're locking each other into these buildings, and if the circle does shift down south away from the water, Kurd12 can disengage in a nice way. Twists and minds, they need this result, they need this game. Still up as a full squad. 0 eliminations, though. More importantly, this third party fight, the 3-way dance on the South George, continues.
Twisted minds continuing on that southern side as the circle is about to shift, and it comes inland, Imperium. All the teams that's committed to the southern side have a great spot, as this time Twisted, or actually Triple Esports, coming over and just full setting against Twisted Minds. Was that a 1 versus 3, Imperium?
Something like that, and it was even the point where Anas had to switch his gun, and he still was able to come out on top. That has alerted the attention to CONQUEROR, still up as a full squad on the tail end, the southern side of the circle. Luckily, with how swift Anas was to finish off Triple Esports, the rest of the team are there. It's still a 4v4 fight.
Ragnarok having that kind of overwatch position on the back inside, not allowing Kalaga to push on over the top and shoot down onto his teammates. So Twisted Minds, they've got a foothold into this circle. Still about two, still needing to come in, but conquer Iraq, like you said, they're right within the circle. They've had a good spot, and they can just keep Twisted Minds from coming on in. If I was Twisted Mind, though, I look for an easier way, maybe shifting to the left-hand side, finding a different upper ground within the circle, and then revisiting this fight against Conqueror.
21 points for Twisted Minds in 6 games, 2 to go. This one in the final. They are so close to securing their spot in the second Super Weekend. Speculative cutoff point is between 35 and 45 points. Compared to the spring split week 1 of the league, play was on the higher end of things, so certainly all these teams are putting in as much work as they can. The competition is raised, and Twisted Minds, they are certainly feeling it.
Feeling it, maybe just, you know, can't get their minds wrapped around how to get in, but looks like they're getting in their cars, mobilizing. One is about to be out of commission. I don't know if they're going to be able to drive that one, but starting to creep on in. They did go over to the left-hand side that I thought they would do, and the Conqueror's still the southern side. So right now we've gotten into that kind of mid part, right? People have gotten their foothold in the circle, not quite engaging quite yet. We still have 15 teams on up, as Reba is still just watching that horizon and trying to catch that one player up onto the roofs.
Risk being on the roof of the building at this stage of the game. Yeah, okay, it's on that southern side, and there's less teams around the area because of how these initial 4 circles have shifted, but again, still a bit of a risk. RTG actually swam into the water, gone onto the coastline on the north side, and Major Pride, they did have a player kind of covering that area, but again, he got swarmed, and fair play, they've gotten the better of Major Pride, and Major Pride down to just a duo.
Conquer at some point, they're going to need to leave here because they have allowed Twisted Minds to kind of rotate past them to take the compound in just to their kind of northwest, but there is a hillside between them, so not going to have the visualization onto him as we shift onto 4K versus POWR.
4K indeed against POWR Esports. 2 players of POWR down. I believe Kante is the last player alive, and he is going to be able to turn his attention on toward Darwell and finds the knock. Anaconda along with Golden and One Knock still holding things out. They are cautious. They are aware. They don't want to overcommit. Heals are being pulled off. First aids are being pulled out. Nades are coming through. Time's ticking though, as both of these teams are now outside the circle.
Circle shifted up, having it right into the South Georgia Pole kind of houses area. All these teams that we just saw in the last couple of minutes need to move soon. Road to Glory having such a glorious day so far, getting 2 of the chicken dinners, and we're only on the 4th match now. Looks like they're running out of a little bit of room though. All of them kind of clustered on the side. Had this singular player, Nomi, watching them, but Nomi's gonna have to divert his attention soon though, because he has a rat in the basement as Road to Glory has encroached into his building.
Great smoke path by RTG. Cool, calm, and collected. They made the push earlier on in the relevant point. They needed to be careful on the likes of SKYROCKET from behind, but in the end, they're able to at least send their players in. Yes, a knock comes through, but Shaco and Janon are still alive. It is still a body advantage in the favor of Road to Glory. Pre-fire is on the side of the and that's gonna be a cheeky third party, but the only one to finish off Major Pride.
That was good for Road to Glory, because the way they were pushing, it wasn't going to turn out well for them. They were pushing literally one by one and just had no support. So, I mean, I think Nomi, it was setting up, he could have had maybe a real good 1v3 fight, but the only one putting an end to that one, 4K, has now come in just into the edge of the circle ahead of all of these teams on the eastern side. As VISTA, another team needing to get in the circle, Falcons watching them from the hillside and not allowing them to escape.
honestly, I understand why the teams around the east to south and even the north to an extent are looking to play this play style of go for as many eliminations, go out with glory, pick up as many points, because with 11 teams still have 35 players still alive, you are not looking at the highest amount of placement points secured in this game. You made the point of 4K. They've gotten ahead of Twisted Minds and CONQUEROR as well, so it's going to be tough for these two teams to make their way in.
OOREDOO Thunders, they finally left that kind of coastal Vista, I was saying, the vacation home, and now having to come back to reality and try to ascend this mountainside Twisted Minds, though another team has been kind of struggling today as well as the other side. Beautiful, Nate, just like you said, opening up this fight as Twisted Minds lobbies another.
These two teams are fighting for their spot in the second Super Weekend. Yes, within the Super Weekend, both of these teams are very healthy in terms of points secured. Preparation for the finals, potential speculative PMGC points. Both of them want to make it in. Both of them want to carry the confidence, but as of right now, they don't seem to show it. Twisted Minds do have control of the engagement. Hassan is across the way. Hamko is across the way, getting the revive onto his teammates. But again, that's only giving time for Twisted Minds to gain control. There is a potential third party from VISTA Gaming, but they're in their own little engagement against 4K. Vigors gets dropped down to his knees.
Hassan basically baiting his teammates right there down in there. He knows Twisted Mind wants to come over and go for the finishes, but in him getting that one knock onto Twisted Minds, it now is very clearly obvious of exactly where he is. Circle shifts up to the northern side, though, as we see teams, they're going down like dominoes left and right. Hassan, I mean, he's got to go for the circle at some point, as Twisted Minds are also looking for their own reset.
Looking for a slice of the Domino's pizza pie in the form of this chicken dinner. Twisted Minds are still being resilient as ever. VISTA Gaming did push back and push away the likes of 4K, so they've looked to target the directions of Twisted Minds off the back of the hearing the shots in Trofka. Trofka's going to get the knock. That's going to be Ragnarok and Anis going down outside the blue zone. Just a little bit too much damage. Dammy's the final player calling. Can he pull out all this stuff against OOREDOO Thunders? He's pinched in the pickle in the moment to play. The pizza slice isn't going to work out for him this moment. Is he going to feel the burn, feel the heat of the pepperoni slice in the form of OOREDOO Thunders or VISTA Gaming?
He just, I mean, the Twisted Mind was just unconjoined, basically. Dami focusing on OOREDOO Thunders. The other three had VISTA Gaming crashing up on the right-hand side. So Dami, all he can do is just met up here. He's out of first aids for Imperium. He's got 5 bandages left, so he really needs to commit to something at this point instead of going back and forth. OOREDOO Thunders, they cross around the roadside, trying to find their way in. He decides one, and he finds the 2-piece to clear out OOREDOO Thunders.
Dami going down, swinging. Picks up his opponents in the form of OOREDOO Thunders, will still end this game on 14 points, double the amount of points secured by OOREDOO Thunders, so they are one step ahead of their opponents. 3 teams are left in this game 4 of the day. VISTA Gaming, SKYROCKET, and the only one Esports. By golly, Miss Molly, we're going to have so much to talk about based on the teams that finished in the tail end of this result. SKYROCKET are still up as a full squad.
The 3 teams left Imperium. We've had the only one, they're currently in 11th. The other 2, they're at the very, very bottom, and now they turn their sights onto each other. But they got a healthy amount of room here. But SKYROCKET so confident, 7 eliminations found as they're looking to clear out the rest of the lobby.
Coming into this game on 30 points, they said 10 points will put them into that secure spot. And they're already into the top 3. That's a guaranteed 10 placement points alone. Never mind the elimination points they've been able to rack up. And it's coming up to 9. Possibly ending this game with a chicken dinner. They wipe out VISTA Gaming down in 3rd. 2 teams are left. And then 7R is the final player up for the only one.
SKYROCKET, they have the circle, but they're saying we need the elimination points as they push on up and eliminate with the grenades. It's 1 left, Imperium, and he's hiding and he's trying to stay as incognito as possible. SKYROCKET plummeting up into his vicinity.
even pushing outside the circle. They want it all. They want it all. They want it all, and they want it now. And guess what? N7R, he's gonna do the right thing, and he's gonna deny the points. But SKYROCKET, they've done enough. They've picked up a chicken dinner, and they have confidently booked their spot in the second Super Weekend, Monica.
We said before this match, we said they need to go big or go home, and they decided to go big. This is the team on the chopping block. I want to say it was in 17th position, about to not qualify for Super Weekend. So to come in with a win with a massive amount of elimination points, that is all you could ask from them.
Man, it was incredible, and they're not the only team to have done it right. Let's look straight at the match rankings of that game that we just witnessed, the final Erangel game of League Week number 2, and it did not disappoint. The only one Esports coming into this game in 16th place, picking up 19 points. VISTA Gaming coming into this game on 20th place, picking up 19 points. Team Twisted Minds coming into this game on 18th place, picking up 14 points. This is incredible.
I think this was some sort of, I don't know, maybe some just unconscious pact where like, okay, all the teams at the top, but let's give some, you know, glimmer of hope for the teams at the bottom and let them, you know, do well this match. And literally almost everyone in that kind of top 5, top 6 were one of the bottom teams in the lobby. So great stuff from them. So in seeing these bottom teams at the top, this second half though in PRM, I'm curious to see where did the top teams all fall down.
Let's have a look at the second page and what happened to them. Road to Glory picked up 4, Kurt 12 picked up 3, and it's 1-1. 1-1, 0-0.
Oh man. 1-1-1, 0-0-0.
It's kind of like Morse code for help me, because look, let's be fair, the circle shifts were incredibly difficult, and it did end around the part of the map that we don't normally see it finishing.
Yeah, we definitely saw, I think just having such a new spot, like you said, it was like, when was the last time we played a hospital ending? You know, where were all the dips? Where are all the rocks? And try to remember.
Exactly.
So it's easy to win those matches that, oh, you know, one that lands outside of Pachinki, right? Everybody knows that spot because it lands there quite a bit. But the one super far away, just trying to reminisce on that.
So just such a close finish we're once again going to see in the League Week number 2. 90th minute weren't playing in this game, and they couldn't have asked for a worse result in terms of teams who were around them picking up a good amount of points. They're going to be sweating coming into this final game. Like I said, squeaky bum time, but they're not the only team that are there. I think every single team within the like bottom 9 or so, or 8 per se, have a chance of either qualifying or not qualifying. That's speculative. We don't know the overall standings. I can't wait to check them out. But again, putting up a fight, so many teams in that previous game put up such a big fight.
Going off what you said, when you are a bottom team, like you said, 90th minute, and you're watching the match and seeing how those teams around you are doing, you're hoping that a team at the top, or you know, all the teams at the top that are well clearly out of reach for you, you're hoping they absorb all the points, right? You're hoping, hey, I hope POWR gets it and get a ton of eliminations so the teams around me can't get it.
Without further ado, let's head to our final break of the day. Then we'll go into Game 5.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve.
Welcome to the most exciting time of the league week, the final game of the PMPL Arabia Full Split League Week 2, brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Oppo. Upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphone for PUBG Mobile in Middle East and Africa Esports 2022. Monica, the final game is upon us. Let's take a look straight away at the overall standings.
Okay, so this is crunch time, right? For some of these teams that are at the very bottom, they may or may not be playing right now, but I mean, this first top half, Imperium, this is the smooth sailing into the super weekend, right?
Let's move into the second page, right? You're dead right. Top 8, it's all good. Sorry, guys, you've had your moment. We don't care about you anymore. We're moving on to we do.
No
we do, obviously, jokes aside.
You.
But again, the focus is upon us. Triple Esports, all good NIGMA. To me, it comes down to CONQUEROR and below. They are in the drop line on a total of 36 points, along with Twist of Mind. To me, 4K are good. The bottom 4 teams at the moment are Rad, Vista Gaming, 90th minute, and OOREDOO Thunders.
So the teams that aren't playing this game is going to be Curd 12, Major Pry, R8, and SKYROCKET. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing them, but I mean, last Sanhok Imperium going to be crazy.
We will see Monster, though, the designated energy drink, the official energy drink for PUBG Mobile. Thank you, Monster, for getting involved in the fantastic PUBG Mobile Esports for 2022. Let's get right into the final game of the day, the final game of League Week 2, and not only to add the massive amount of pressure on these teams' shoulders down in the bottom 5, but we are into Sanhok of all maps.
All right, the one spot we are watching time and time again, it's going to be that boot camp area. We see YALLA, we see GEEKAY, and we see them fight time and time again. I mean, this is the last time they're going to fight in Super Weekend, right? But if both of these teams, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing them in the Super Weekend. So maybe the sequel and trilogy will continue this weekend.
So as much as yes, indeed, we will definitely be taking an eye and keeping an eye on the bootcamp fight. Again, the priority as well is the bottom 5 teams. OOREDOO Thunder, 90th minute, Vista Gaming, Rad, Twist of Minds, and CONQUEROR Iraq. Interestingly, Vista Gaming have gone for a bit of a drop around the bootcamp area. Maybe they think, based off understanding of these two teams dropping in bootcamp before, that they can kind of third party and get involved and pick up some early eliminations. I kind of appreciate that if it's the case.
We do see, though, this is a little bit terribly new, do we not? We have FALCONS landing here with Triple Esports, and we have Vista Gaming just making eye contact with Road to Glory from across the street. So Imperium, they're stacking up to have a ton of action, and knowing us, it's going to happen all at the same time.
Yeah, probably will. Rad, on a side note, by the way, did send most of their team a lot closer to Ru.
Yeah.
So thinking that if NIGMA did try to go kind of like closer to Ruins, they'd be less likely to take a fight.
I mean, Falcons here, I mean, they don't have R8 that usually lands in this area landing, so both of them made this decision. Triple Esports losing one now to the likes of Falcon as they're pushing up here. Triple Esports, they've been kind of funneled all, right into the dab center of Paradise Resorts. As Falcon, though, they're kind of in that corner. You can see in the miniature map, one more lone member of Triple Esports is coming to shoot Falcon right in the back.
Both of these teams are of course secure for the second Super Weekend, so to me it's kind of nothing to lose. And I suppose that's where the bottom 5 teams can technically take advantage of a lot of teams around them who are coming into this game super secure into the second Super Weekend. So even though there's technically less elimination points, if there's a lot more early fights between those two teams, there is a bit of an opportunity to get a higher placement point finish.
Falcon, though, looks like they're coming in a little bit closer. Triple Esports not losing any pace as they have lost one. Damar coming over onto the edges, clear the triple or third-person perspective, watching him trying to get the opportunistic knock. Actually gets knocked in return. It was a 1 versus 2 shooting situation there as Clever now the dominoes are falling. Now it's becoming such a desperate situation. Triple Esports pushed out of the likes of Paradise Resorts, and Falcons having the upper ground, trying to find the shots onto push, as now he's just coming around to the right-hand side, and they're having that 1 versus 1 here as another comes in for support, and they put Triple Esports down into the ground.
Powerful, living up to his namesake, being powerful in this engagement. Clever is now the final player standing. Last is there to support his teammate. Powerful gets some pre-fire shots, has to prone down, will get knocked last, and now the last player standing, and he does clutch up to keep his team alive, and more importantly, that's a full squad.
That was just an unfortunate. He tried to, continue the shots out of his UMP and didn't quick switch to the QBZ. So we just caught an animation of switching the gun as the opponent from Falcons was already shooting at him, and it was just the GGs from there. But still, it's kind of a stalemate between GEEKAY and YALLA. I just can't drop it yet.
It is. Maybe both teams saw another team parachutes this, as we know now, VISTA, kind of close by, so maybe they were afraid to engage too early in the thinking that the team that did drop close by could be looking for a third party. I don't know. It's definitely an observation that logically makes sense. Phase 1 popped up, by the way, Monica. It's a little bit similar to the previous game, extremely centralized.
I feel like we're always just kind of repeating the circles time and time again. But I just really want to highlight the teams that are really on the chopping block here are those ones that are kind of like 12th through like 18th, right? We've got YALLA,
to me, it's
all of them. Yeah.
To me, it's 15th to 20th. To me, 4K,
even
R8, and the teams above, they're good. Yeah.
So 15th right now, we have Conquer Iraq, right? And then Twisted Minds, Rad. These are all ones that are still playing that one last match, this one, to try to just secure their spot.
Obviously, it is easier for Conquer Iraq and Twisted Minds, and arguably, well, no, not so much Rad, but Twisted Minds and Conquer Iraq, because they're on 35 and 36 points. But again, last week's cutoff point, Monica, was 45 points. So if you take that into account, Conquer Rock and Twisted Minds still need 9 and 10 points respectively.
Yeah. I think all the teams, even under them, are just gunning for their spots, right? Because the only difference between like 15 Conquer Iraq, 36 points, and like 18 points Vista is just 6 points. And that's well within striking range, especially in one match.
One caveat, by the way, R8. Okay, maybe I'm wrong about R8. Maybe R8 could not make it through. Right? Because they're on 46 points and they aren't playing in this final game. 4K are behind them, but they're on 44. They only need, 3 points to make it past R8? And then if other teams like Conquer Iraq, Twisted Minds, and Rad make it in, R8 could be pushed out of the second Super Weekend.
I mean, these are the shakeups that make it interesting for us, right? It's fun to see these teams kind of I guess it's not just, oh, it's always the same 16 teams and these 4 teams never make a Super Weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's not a dynamic, that's not an interesting kind of tournament league to watch. So having these teams being so close and just, hey, one bad week can put you down shows which kind of teams are that kind of veteran, very experienced, always stable kind of team, and the ones that are really reliant on luck and really reliant on the circle being gifted to them to even make anything out of a match.
I do notice that 90th minute are a little bit more hesitant to move out of Hating at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe once again thinking that POWR could be looking to gatekeep them. As it happens, no, that's not the case. POWR have gone much closer to Paradise Resort.
POWR, we saw them kind of lingering right into the distance here as we have Rad. Remember, we saw a little bit of a fight action happen here between NIGMA, Galaxy, and I want to say it was Rad that first game today. We do see, okay, so POWR came into the backyard of Falcons, wanted to impose on this engagement, or this, I guess, the remains of this engagement against Triple Esports and Falcon. However, the watchful eyes spotting him out, getting that first knock, and now, you know, now this is the cue for everyone else. You see in the mini-map, they're all swarming onto this northwestern corner of Paradise to try to get those eliminations.
Mar stepping on the upstairs of that long building, that 2-story factor play inside Paradise Resort. Once you enter into Paradise Resort, it's very, very hard to exit with how big those sprawling walls are. And Damar are going to make POWR Esports pay a second knock, but traded quite effectively by Aziz. 3 players left. Great peek by Damar. Beautiful connecting onto Aziz.
I think hyper accuracy and able to just put him down on the knees so quickly is powerful. Now, I think he heard the cues before. Gets the knock onto one by getting shot right in the back. Wasn't aware someone who was hiding in the corner this time around. That gets watching the last one, though, through the window way, trying to get the last couple of shots. And it's going to be POWR coming to the clutches of Falcon.
Man, Falcon Esports. He got the initial engagement. They got the initial elimination, and they took advantage of it. Now, VISTA are going to be looking to third-party this. They definitely would have heard those shots between the 2 teams. By the way, I don't think it was so much POWR wanted to try and take advantage of it, of the third party, per se, between Falcons and Triple Esports. I really believe it was more the fact that because R8 are in this lobby, they kind of presumed that Paradise area was going to be less occupied, less busy. But again, the risk around playing Paradise is that you don't know until you absolutely enter the resort, and they didn't know, and they got bitten for it.
This is the classic. VISTA is literally in the footsteps of SKYROCKET. Remember, SKYROCKET was a make or break last chance to try to qualify. This time it's VISTA. This is their last chance to get up into the top 16, and they heard the fight happen between Falcon and POWR, and they're coming to reap the benefits of it.
Don't push solo. Make sure you still stick together as a full squad and use that full body advantage. They've done that. Falcon, just 1 player left, powerful in the corner, can do nothing as he crumbles down, and VISTA take advantage, take control, and they pick themselves up. Very importantly, 3 elimination points.
That's okay for Falcons because they're already in 4th place, right? They're well comfortable into there. It is to the benefit completely to VISTA because they really need the points. They're sitting at 18th position. Now only top 16 get taken to Super Weekend. So good for them being aggressive for those eliminations, but they really need to put up way more points if they want to beat out the likes of, you know, CONQUEROR, like Twisted Mind, Rat, go right above them in the standings.
One factor we also need to think about in this final game, and it's potentially anticlimactic, of course. At the end of the day, you got to do what you need to do, is that heal strat. Right, the teams around that kind of 17th, 18th, 16th spot, will they go for a heal strat in the hopes that it gets them the kind of 8 to 10 points required to qualify for the second Super Weekend?
GEEKAY, it looks like both teams have disengaged out of boot camp and taken their fight now up onto the hillside that they saw the circle shift off of them. So up here, this is very similar to where circle ended before. I mean, Satan, he's just punching around, completely unaware, didn't check every single rock, and that's why it's so scary to play these Sanhok matches as YALLA, collecting up the first elimination so far.
It's like when you're in school and you start to have a bit of a fight against somebody and you take it from the playground to the football field, and that's what's happened between these two teams. And right now, YALLA is the kid at school that's coming out on top. Swipe to the left, the 1-2 Uniflu drops come through, and I think that's a third party finishing off GEEKAY. And YALLA will be able to get the revive and stay up as a full squad.
You just gotta take a tour of the entire school and just be like, you know, we had a fight behind the bleachers, we had a fight in the classroom, we got sent to detention and continued our fight there. And that is exactly these two. So, I mean, GEEKAY, I think the favor is more in YALLA at this point, Imperium. I have seen YALLA come up on top in this general boot camp fight where they keep fighting to the death, and GEEKAY has just not been able to make much out of it.
Circle shifts over to the east on phase 3. Good for NIGMA Galaxy. Even better for CONQUEROR as they have a 2-1-1 split. RTG not looking too bad, and the only one in the northwestern edge of the circle.
Eastern side. Remember, NIGMA Galaxy had a very fruitful kind of rotation like this before, where they made a boat rotation on the eastern side. Nobody was in that area. They found a nice foothold on kind of the southern side as everyone is still coming to get in. Conquer, we haven't seen much from them yet, right? And they're real close to that 16 kind of cutoff line. And I don't know, we said a couple days ago, Miramar is Conqueror's map to go to, right? But we haven't had any Miramar in the last couple of days, so maybe their best map is just not in play.
Exactly. Where they need to realize and understand that it's not about one map, it's about all three. It's about making sure that you are a well-rounded team. Always in the position to win, always in the position to come out on top. Give your team the fighting chance. And CONQUEROR, yes, they're closer to qualifying for the Super Weekend. They still need to continue to fight. 4K in their own right. They're in 15th spot, 44 points. They only need 3 to jump ahead of R8, who are not playing in this game. YALLA playing in the West. OOREDOO Thunders are a little bit close behind them.
NIGMA Galaxy, ooh, a little bit too confident. Went for that airdrop that landed there and didn't know the trap was laid out. NASR in the distance watching him as now Lord turns his sights on Twisted Minds, coming in real close in personal, sees a couple shots, finds just a little bit of damage, but Twisted Minds are still going to be left alive on that western side of Quarry.
I like it. The northeastern side of Quarry is locked down by Twisted Minds in a 2-2 split. I believe it was Twisted Minds that got the opening knock into NIGMA Galaxy. Not sure. Maybe it was NASR Esports, as you did correctly pointed out. A trap had been somewhat laid. The revive is still being executed with a few teams around them. There's no guarantee across the board. Again, Twisted Minds are certainly one of the teams that need every single point that they can get. They are 16th at the moment on a total of 35 points.
Twisted Minds, one of the top teams from this last Super Weekend, and currently just, I don't know, maybe just partied a little bit too hard celebrating this past weekend because they just haven't really done much. But I think when you soar that high, there's only one direction to go, and that's down, right?
That is true. That is true. And maybe a little bit of water splash in the face, cold water, a slap in the face, and back down to reality. Yeah, for Twisted Minds, if they do make it into the second Super Weekend. VISTA Gaming cohesively flanking around this northern side of the circle as a full unit, exactly how they need to play this game.
VISTA, the one thing that I really have to say goes for them is they know how to play together. Either that's consciously or that's just, they're just not that confident by themselves, but they're maybe failed successively always being together when they go for these pushes, going for this fight. So at least they're never caught in this kind of 1v1 or 1v2 like disadvantageous fight.
Interesting observation. We've lost 4 teams, but every single one of the remaining 12 teams have a full squad up.
Yeah. Maybe 5th game jitters, you know, or, you know, it's just 5th game vibes where it's just kind of, you know.
Well, to an extent, it's kind of like feast or famine to an extent because we have 5 plus to an extent teams looking to secure their spot in the second Super Weekend, and you have teams who are absolutely secure. So yeah, again, that feast of famine in terms of either going for it all because you have nothing to lose or just being very careful because you have everything to lose.
Everything to lose. 90th minute, though. They definitely do have everything to lose because they're also one of the ones at the very bottom. Made a massive rotation from Hot Ting all the way over to that northeastern side of the circle. We see the only one in VISTA Gaming. These are two-year teams at the very end of the last game. Remember, there were two of the three teams left alive, and now finding themselves in engagement on the sides of these rocks.
Super important you confirm the elimination, not only to make sure you get the extra point, but just to continue to suppress your opponents. And nade connects. It does tickle Luffy down a little bit of health, but again, the push is coming in. This is for the edge of the circle, though, a decent distance to travel for both of these teams inside Phase 4. It's manageable inside the blue zone, so there won't be too much of a panic to make it in, but as soon as the next circle shift, Phase 5 does become a bit scarier. Evo Station is scared into a knockdown to his knees. Luffy is able to respond.
Tickled in a bad way, and these guys are saying, stop tickling me, let me get into the circles. Both of these teams are out in the blue zone, and this is getting a little bit harder and harder to survive into Trophic. Pushing up now, finding one of the players. I'm the only one, but just missing out. I think just quickly hitting the deck and avoiding the shots.
Nice nade by Luffy. Quick response off the back of being isolated. The revive yet to come through. On a side note, by the way, over on the western edge of the circle, YALLA are being heavily gate-kept outside the quarry by Twisted Minds. I believe a couple of eliminations has gone down. YALLA have been eliminated by Twisted Minds. A lot of solid elimination points as 90th minute get involved on a third party. VISTA Gaming have lost guaranteed one player. Luffy is now one of two players left up for the side of one and only. This is starting to get more and more important for the remaining 11 teams.
I mean, this is getting to the end stages here. The only one that just didn't time that last med out well. So it's going to be, again, the blue zone. Ultimate Squad Wiper. VISTA Gaming out in the blue as well. Just hoping they can find their way in. The only one, he tried to go for the save, but it's going to be CONQUEROR to put them in the ground.
The only one are okay for the second super weekend, by the way. They are on 49 points, so it won't be too much of a panic for them. Trofka is down to 11 first aids. That's not going to get them very far, by the way. Spaghettios, 90th minute, are also saying the same thing. They're getting a little bit punished by CONQUEROR rack down outside the Lakwai hillside coming into the eastern edge of the circle.
If it's any map to do the med strat on, it is going to be Sanhok, as we see so many solos now. We saw just a couple minutes ago Imperium, these teams were all 4-man alive, and now they're being diminished down to solos and duos. As we now see VISTA Gaming, one of the ones that was on the chopping block, do go out in 10th position. CONQUEROR is also fighting their way tooth and nail to try to get in.
I don't think VISTA have done enough. I believe they picked up 4 elimination points and maybe 1 placement point. That's only going to give them 5 speculatively. That will put them ahead. Well, actually, no, it will put them behind Twisted Minds, and I don't think it's going to be enough. Like I said, with still 9 teams left up, Rad are still in this game as a full squad.
Man, it's just the theme of today is just the teams that the underdogs are doing so well. I think they just really can perform under pressure as Rad. They've got the compound. It just shifted off to them, but they've had so much time in this compound. They've had the most information of any of these teams into the lobby as they're looking uphill and trying to ascend up into the circle.
The only teams behind them are players who are either healing in the blue or whittled down to a solo player. NASR are down, but that's fine. They're secured into the second super weekend. So are RTG up and towards the northern side as a full squad. 4K on 3 eliminations. That will put them ahead of R8, so they should be good for the second super weekend. But it's not looking so good for OOREDOO Thunder. They were coming into this game in 20th spot. They're down in 7th, in 8th.
It's crazy. Rad trying to hop and skip across the open road. Doesn't quite make it, but he's going to be knocked 4K down to, I guess, 2K resolution now on the TV because it's only 2 of them left. Anaconda sneaking his way in as these teams, none of them are within the circle, and they're just shooting left and right to prevent their neighbors from getting in.
Honestly, that's okay for Rad to only lose one player hopping across the road like that. It could have been so much worse. RTG get involved. Kaido's going to get finished off. Anaconda and 4K do pick up that elimination point once again. Puts them on 4. 7 teams are left. Jabal of 19th minute still healing in the blue. Conqueror Rock up to 2 eliminations. Riva still healing in the blue. NIGMA Galaxy go for the push. Twisted Minds Ragnarok still healing in the blue.
NIGMA Galaxy, that seemed like such a needless loss there as they only have Lord left alive on top of the mountain. Road to Glory, maybe Sanhok is their match because every single Sanhok match today, they've either won it like they did the first 2 or they're currently in the top 7 as we shift onto our solos, meting out into the blue zone. It is a fight against time.
19th minute into this game and 19th still alive.
Oh.
Rad 17th in this game, still alive. Twisted Mind 16th in this game, still alive. Conqueror Rock in this game, in 15th, still alive. This is going to come down to the absolute wire. The final fray is 90th minute. Go down in 5th place. A bucket of points, but that will put Twisted Minds automatically into the top 4. Conqueror go down. 4 teams are left. NIGMA Galaxy make RTG pay before Lord gets eliminated by the blue. 2 teams are left. RTG and Rad looking to seal this game. Will it put them into the second super weekend? Munir and Rex still alive, but as a nade comes through, Vault takes a ton of damage, finishes the elimination off, and Rad picked up the final chicken dinner of the day.
We're hoping for another 1 versus 3 to win a match. That wasn't going to happen. So somebody finally put an end to the rampage of Road to Glory on Sanhok, and that was going to be Rad. So Rad, that was also a big go big or go home situation, and they won that last match today.
And I can't tell you who's qualified. Okay, I suppose I can confidently say Rad have qualified, right? Because they won the game and they were coming into this game on 33 points. So you give them like 15 plus, that's 48. Plus the elimination points, they should be kind of good in the hood. But outside of that, yeah, it's all question marks. So let's take a look at the match rankings though, Monica.
Match rankings. Okay, so this is not the overall scores, right, guys? We'll have that soon, but this is just looking at this past Sanhok match. Road to Glory, 9 eliminations found for them. So I don't know, just Road to Glory, even though they didn't win the match and getting the chicken dinner, they still won in terms of points. So Road to Glory, I don't know, name a better duo besides Road to Glory and Sanhok.
And Conqueror Rock only got themselves 6 points. Yeah, okay, they were a team that were technically like closest in terms of the cutoff point, but I do have a bit of a question mark on my head on if they've been able to get done. I don't think it was quite enough by 90th minute, by the way. 9 points, they were down in 19th place. They only had 29 points. Again, I don't think it's enough. Let's move on to the second page because there was a flurry of action in the early game that saw 3 teams being wiped out in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, to the excitement of us, because it's really exciting to be like, oh, like who out of these 6 teams ended up qualifying, because they are all so close and we can't do math quite fast enough. But to the absolute anxiety of all the teams in the lobby trying to do math as they're playing, I really want to see who did qualify Imperium.
Again, coming into this League Week 2, the 4 teams that hadn't qualified for this first Super Weekend were Team Falcons, Cur 12, SKYROCKET Esports, and VISTA Gaming. Guaranteed coming into this game, 3 of those 4 teams have made it into the second Super Weekend.
Yeah. In
this first Super Weekend as well, 4K were the lowest performing team. And no, sorry, my apologies. It was the only one with the lowest performing amount of points, followed by Rad, followed by YALLA. So have Rad done enough to keep the pressure off them coming into the second Super Weekend?
Definitely. So now we have some new teams that are making it into Super Weekend, right? That didn't make it last weekend. So they're looking at those teams that didn't qualify or put very low points up from this last super weekend to try to climb up higher than them. Well, we like to see these kind of dynamic regions where it's not just, you know, it gets a little boring cheering for the same 16 teams all the time and the same 4, you just have, you know, you don't have it. But this region, it seems like it's very balanced where we're seeing teams that maybe we initially expected weren't going to do good. Now they're at the top, or the ones that did good are now at the bottom sort of thing, which, I mean, it hurts to see that, but let's look at the overalls though, Imperium, and we're going to see where they did end up falling.
We can at least kind of take stock per se of what teams have been able to do. And I really think you hit the nail on the head with Road to Glory and their power map being Sanhok, leading the charge with 106 points.
So in the league play, we had 2 Sanhoks yesterday, 3 Sanhoks today. However, coming up in the super weekends, we're only going to have 1 Sanhok a day. So I wonder if that's going to change how this scoring looks going into super weekend.
Plus a big question mark on their shoulders with the lack of elimination points. Not only isolated to their balance of placing points and elimination points, but even if you compare it to the teams below, take POWR Esports out of the equation, right? It's still 8 elimination points less than Team Falcons. Still, you know, a multitude of elimination points less than a few teams below them, or equal to elimination points. My point is, that does kind of worry me coming into the second super weekend.
So clearly they know how to rotate, or they just been blessed with zone all day today. But it's just that elimination point, they're not playing as aggressively as POWR, you know, constantly putting themselves in a position where they're third partying or in the middle of fights. So, I mean, and there's only 2 points in difference between them, and definitely very different play styles and avenues of getting to the spot. But they're currently first and second. But I mean, Imperium, the $1 million question though is that second half. Am I right?
Yeah, let's have a look. Who are the remaining teams making it into the super weekend? Alright, Esports have just about qualified. That cutoff point is even higher than it was last week. The competition is raging on. Twist of Minds just about made it through. That top 3 finish in the final game. The 12 points secured have put themselves into 15th place.
Twisted Minds, I was so worried for them. They were a team just like OOREDOO Thunders that had a bit of a comeback story from the super weekend, this previous one, after just doing okay during last week's league play. So just barely qualified is qualified, right? The points here don't really matter as long as you're in top 16.
Exactly. And the only one, Esports, like I said, coming into this second league week, is the lowest performing team in the first super weekend. They've really needed this lockdown of the second super weekend, and they've got the job done, followed by RAD as well. So congratulations to both of those teams. Let's unfortunately see who are the 4 teams not making it in to the second super weekend. Certainly a couple of surprises as CONQUEROR, 90th minute VISTA Gaming, and OOREDOO Thunders. What a drop down. What a fall from grace for that team.
You called VISTA was not going to make it, right? Like we could all kind of tell that from the beginning. It was these other 3, CONQUEROR, I think they finished last league play in third, fourth, right? Last week, last Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, my apologies. So they, again, a fall from grace for CONQUEROR. It was so unfortunate for them. 90th minute was one of those teams that were it's kind of expected, I think, just seeing from them how they played last week and the super weekends and such. But OOREDOO Thunders, this is a team that won multiple chicken dinners in the same day in the super weekend.
The one factor we also want to consider as well that does make things so much more challenging for the teams who made it into the second super weekend and who didn't make it into the second super weekend is that the teams that didn't make it into the super weekend, bar VISTA Gaming, were all kind of a little bit more comfortable in terms of points secured in that first super weekend. So there's a lot to be challenged for the bottom teams coming into the second super weekend. There's a lot you can do at home to challenge yourself, to get yourself in form of the Grizzly Bear package that is available in game. The card collection is here where you can pick you can get all of the items in one go if luck is on your side.
Luck. I mean, may the luck be with you. Definitely a lot of cool skins going on now. That's what I really love about PUBG Mobile, right? There's always something new, something very kind of current happening, and so many different sponsorships like that, and so many just great outfits.
I can't believe that the cutoff point actually increased from League Week 1 to League Week 2. The competition just continues to grow, and I gotta say, well done to every single one of the teams for raising the standard in the PMPL Arabic region. Commiserations to the 4 teams that didn't make it through. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board coming into League Week 3. For the 16 teams that made it, you have 1 day break before we get into the second Super Weekend, starting on Thursday. Join us same time, same place. Have a wonderful evening, and see you all then.